The SG survey is for the swags. Sorry for the non-Singapore attendees. We could not ship our logistics problem, so we could not do swags or the t-shirts outside of Singapore. It's very difficult for us. We are sorry for that. The swags and the t-shirt, we are planning to give it to the local attendees as much as possible. So please focus on the HOL and try to complete the HOL. We are trying to be slightly lenient that it is not 100% mandatory that you need to finish HOL and get the swags. We are planning to give it to most of the attendees so that to encourage on the more HOL in the future. But please fill in the survey at the end so that we know who have attended and then can track and exactly give the swags as well. We would send out the email to the attendees who are registering with who are finishing the survey. So that survey is very important, the SG survey. We will send out an email of how the swags would be distributed or will be collected. Okay. Thank you so much again. Over to Renee.
All right, can you hear me? Just a sound check from my side before I get started.
I can hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So thanks for joining us. Just some quick info before we get started with our first hands-on lab. That's going to take around, we've got scheduled 2 hours. It's likely not going to take that long, but we'll see how we move along. Maybe I'll just slow down from time to time. At any point in time, obviously, as we are not physically together today, at any point in time, if there are any questions, if you need help or so, if you've got any comments or so, there's two things you can do. One, write in the chat here, obviously in Teams. So you want to say anything, just write it in the chat. I'll try to check regularly. I've got my second monitor here on my right side. I'll look over here regularly and I'll try to help if possible. And the other feature is then raise hand. So again, if you've got any problem, any comment, any question, please use the raise hand feature. So just to raise awareness to our team here. All right, having said that, so for this first hands-on lab, there are a couple of guides that I prepared. And when I say I prepared, it's actually the Microsoft guides that I reviewed and updated slightly to remove some things and add some things as needed to make it work for today. So there's a standard hands-on lab for this that you could follow online, but if you try to do it right now, chances are that it might not work 100%, which is why I made some smaller changes and I published it here. I'm also quickly going to publish it here in the chat. Good. And the other thing was, let me just grab the other link. Where did I put that one? Here it is. Just 1 second. I'm going to share this link also with you. So this is the actual, I'm just going to give you 2 links actually. And so we've got here the Microsoft Learn module. So what we're going to do today is also a Microsoft Learn module that you could also go through separately. As mentioned, there's some smaller things that don't work properly anymore, which is why I updated the guides a little bit differently. I'm going to push the links in here as well in the chat, so then are also available in the chat. If you want to go through it, you can also do it here on the web. Just that, again, as mentioned, when I went through it, I noticed some smaller issues and things didn't quite work as expected. You could say some compilation failed. So my guide should usually work and hopefully work for everyone. And I say my guide is actually, it's just a standard guide from Microsoft that I took from here, for example, this exercise here, just with some smaller changes as needed, basically. All right, let me just close all this here and let me jump over now to the next presentation. I need to stop this here. And we're going to get started with this one here, create embedded web experience with tabs for Microsoft Teams. So what we're going to do today is basically a couple of things. We're going to quickly look at the Teams extensibility and just a quick explanation prior getting started. We're going to talk about the Teams tabs, and then we'll actually get some work done. That's the majority of today. So we're going to create some custom tabs for Microsoft Teams. Looking at the extensibility options for Teams. So when you create a Teams app, you've got some possibilities. You can create a tab, you can create a bot, you can create messaging extensions, and you can create webhooks and connectors. Our focus, obviously, today here as this hands-on lab, as this exercise, is the how can we add a tab? So what is a Teams app? First of all, an app is a package of services that you provide to users in a context that makes the most sense. That's a lot of wording here. So basically, again, the service is again one of those things that we just mentioned. It is a tab or a bot or messaging extension. The scope is then where do you actually put it, and then the package then in the end is how you make it available. Having said all that, let me just actually quickly jump over here. So simply said, for example, what you can do is when you create a Teams app, you can say, oh, I want to create a tab, and a tab would be something that can, for example, show up here on top in my channel. I can add it to another channel, or it can also show up here on the left-hand side while I don't have one available here right now. We are actually going through that exercise in a short while, and we will add our, you can see, for example, here, one tab here. I think if I add this one, it will break, but we are going to do that in a short while. All right, jumping back here. How do we create a Teams app? So the good news is obviously you don't need to a lot to actually do it. All you need is some knowledge about HTML, TypeScript, JavaScript basically, and potentially .NET depending on what you're doing. For our purposes today, all we're going to do is actually we're just using HTML and TypeScript. Actually, mostly TypeScript. I think there might be very little HTML required, but it's relatively standard. It's relatively easy. So if you've developed a little bit with TypeScript or JavaScript, then it should be easy to get that all of that done. As for editor, we're going to use Visual Studio Code. How can you integrate with Teams? So there are some SDKs that can be used. We are also using some of them today, or might already have prepared some of it today. And lastly, then once we've got something developed, you can actually package and deploy it. So that's again a standard process that we'll also see to a certain extent then today. All right. Just this little bit background information. Let's talk about Teams tabs. So I just mentioned already Teams tabs where they can show up. So you can actually display within Teams your existing web app experiences or new web app experiences. So you can create either a tab basically that shows something that you already have, or you can build a tab that shows something new, something that you want to create. Tabs, simply said, are web applications hosted by a provider. So again, you've got a web app running somewhere, whether it's for our demo purposes today, localhost, or once you're moving it to production in Azure on a dedicated web server internally, or in a data center or something else, basically, all you have basically is a web application running somewhere, and this is what you want to display and surface within Teams. And in a very simple way, you could say also that web applications, the tabs are actually just iframes shown within Teams. But we will see also what the benefits are of using Teams and using tabs actually, because there are some integration mechanisms that we are going to leverage. We want to use, for example, authentication. We want to, for example, connect our app to Teams in such a way that it is aware that it's getting surfaced in Teams or not getting surfaced in Teams. All those things we'll explore today. That's also what I just mentioned. So while you might think, hey, it's simply just an iframe, so nothing special, you can actually also do different things. So again, authentication is slightly different for your application potentially. Cross-domain validation is different. So you must list all the domains that can be displayed in a tab. I mentioned that we can say we want to limit our application to only be loaded within Microsoft Teams. So if someone figures out the URL, opens it in a browser, it wouldn't work for them, so they have to use it through Teams. We can update the styling, which we will do extensively today by using whatever is used in the Teams client. And then there's some communication going on between Teams and a hosted page that we can also then see later in action. So I mentioned just now also where the tab can actually reside within Teams. So it can be at the top of a channel where it can be added, so everybody who's a member of the channel can access it. It can be part of a group chat. So if you've got 2 or more users talking, for example, then you can add that tab to a chat, to a conversation, basically. And lastly, it can be a personal tab, something that is shown to one particular user only. So basically, I can go in and say, oh, I want to add a specific tab, and that is then shown to me only, whereas when somebody else goes into Teams, they will not see that tab. It is accessible via the app bar on the left side, and that's also the first thing that we're going to get started with. So, developing our custom Teams tabs. The steps here, simply said, roughly what is usually happening when you work on building your Teams tab. You design a tab, you basically decide how it should look like, you develop it using the standard development technologies, again mentioned HTML, JavaScript, obviously CSS also if required. You can use REST services, then there's some possibility of using deep linking and context. So part of it we're going to explore today. And once it's available, again, we're going to deploy it, also something that we're going to do briefly a couple of times today. And when I say going to deploy it, we're obviously just developing for demo purposes, testing purposes today, so we're not submitting anything to our to the Office store. So obviously we're just going to deploy to our team so that we can verify that it's working. All right, there are some key points listed here. Very important, actually, no data is stored within Teams. So while we are using Teams to leverage the web application is still hosted somewhere. The data from the web application is also not stored within Teams, but you handle it yourself. So if you want to store some information as part of your web app, it's not getting stored in Teams, but you have to think about where else do I store it. There's only a little bit of configuration information obviously stored in Teams because that tab needs to know basically, the user is currently using it. Is there something that is persisted or not, etc. Yeah, and lastly, when you develop a tab, when you're using HTML and TypeScript, JavaScript, basically, you don't want to do all the HTML plumbing all by yourself, so you can use modern frameworks. So you can use React, Angular, Vue.js, whatever you want. Basically, today we are only going to use React, and it'll be relatively simple. We're not going to be doing too much with it, but you'll see how easy it is to actually import React into our solution and just get something done with it. Quick comment on the tooling options. So we're going to use all of them briefly, some of them more today. So the App Studio is basically a manifest editor. You don't develop the full app within it, but you can just provide some small modifications, basically. The Teams Yeoman generator, basically, that's what we're going to use to generate our actual scaffolding today. Helps it to get all the preparation done to get started with a new project, basically. We'll see that 3 times today. And lastly, Visual Studio is usually ideal for .NET-based projects. We're not going to use Visual Studio today, but if you've got Visual Studio Code, which if you're joining our hands-on actions today, hope you have it. Visual Studio Code basically will then help us to get all the coding done and get things started. There's a bit more information here, which I'm going to skip because it now goes into details about how do you get context within Teams tabs. So we know, for example, when you've got a Teams tab, it's a specific URL that you're calling, but you can also then actually get some context basically through it. So you can get couple of different properties, for example, the user principal name, the tenant ID, the current theme, those kind of things. So this is some information that can be accessed as part of our application, which Teams basically makes available to us. We are going to skip this part here also, just a manifest, just be aware there is a manifest, but this is the only slide where it's mentioned, and we're not going to do much with it. Once you're going to work on getting a proper application developed, etc., is something you want to look at. But for our purposes today, we can just skip it and gonna jump right into the demo actually. And so let me just actually make sure that I've got my Teams open here, so I see everything's happening. Good. What you need to do now. So I sent that link here for the Teams tab exercise guides. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open exercise 1 to get started. I'm just going to open it first here on this screen. So you see, it's a relatively simple thing that we're going to do. We're going to create.
The video is the same.
Really? I'm in a call.
It's brown.
I cannot help you now. Even when I change something, then you need to change yourself. So you need to present.
But they're not the same.
Today I cannot help you now, okay? Yeah. See, everybody's seeing you now. Sorry, my son obviously needs some help with something, but he can do it himself. You're a big boy, you can do it, yeah?
I can't turn it off.
Can you turn it off and on again? Watch this.
I can't. Yeah.
All right, so what we want to do is basically prerequisites. We send it over to you. Hopefully you went through that already, so you should have all the prerequisites installed. You have an Office 365 tenant, we've got Teams, you've got code, you've got Node.js installed, you've got Microsoft Teams, Yeoman generator, etc. Again, this is basically what is required right now. All of that should be available to you. So once you install Node.js, then NPM and Gulp should both be part of it. Yeoman should be, I can't remember if that's also part of it, but basically these two items are also quickly installed. And lastly, Visual Studio Code. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to bring that exercise again over to the right side, because right now, what we're going to do is we're going to get started. So I'm now at Create Microsoft Teams app. So I am going to, that's wrong tab. Here we go. It's still a bit big. Here. Let me just create a new folder. So I'm going to create MS Teams tab personal. Creating a new folder somewhere. It's empty right now. Going into the command prompt. And what I'm going to do just now is I'm just going to say Yo Teams. So now it's going to start our generator, and we've got a couple of questions then that we need to answer, or we'll receive a couple of questions that we need to answer to get things started here. All right, what's our solution name? I'm just gonna use what it tells me here, MS Teams tab personal. Actually, I'm gonna change it slightly, MS Teams tabs personal, make it a bit nicer, bigger. Where do I want to place the files? I'm gonna use the current folder. Title of the Teams app project, gonna keep it as it is. Company name, not important right now, I'm gonna use Contoso. Manifest version, I'm going to select 1.7. So the original Microsoft guide is still talking about 1.6 and then telling you to switch manually the schema, etc. to 1.7. But we can use 1.7 right now here. So I'm going to use 1.7, making it a bit easier for us. So that's something that's not in the current exercise guide that I shared with you anymore. No partner ID. Over here now, it asks me what features do you want to add to your project, and we are going to create a tab, obviously. So we're selecting this. The URL where we will host this solution. So this can still be configured afterwards, obviously, once you want to move it into production or so, or into proper development environment. We can just keep the default here because it's not getting used actually as part of what we are doing today. We are just using our local instance for running it, which we'll see in a while later. So while we could add something else here, I'm just going to keep that as it is. We don't want to show a loading indicator. We don't want to say no. Let me just confirm. Yeah, no, no. A lot of no's actually. Default tab name. I'm going to call this now Learn Personal Tab. What kind of tab would you like to create? Right now, we are creating a personal tab. So we're selecting then here, very important now, personal. The first selection usually is configurable. Right now we're using here personal static, and we do not require Azure AD single sign-on, and our project is getting now prepared. Perfect. So now all the required files are getting prepared. Our project is getting set up. If we look again at our folder here, we can see, yeah, just now it was empty. Now we've got all the project information that we require here, plus a lot of source code. And what I'm already going to do here now quickly is I'm going to open this one here in Visual Studio Code, this folder that I have here, the one that I created. And you see here, again, I've got all the information about my project in here. So if I go into, for example, my manifest, we can see everything in here has already been prepared. Nothing I need to do right now, actually, everything entered as part of the generator here. So let's just wait until this is done here. And once that's done, we'll have a quick look at how it actually looks like. What we actually generated. When I say what it looks like, just going to open it actually in the browser in a second. So just verifying again, if you've got any questions, post it in the chat or raise your hand so that I know that I need to slow down or explain something again. Sometimes some things might take a couple of seconds. So again, there's no need to rush through everything right now. We still got more than 1.5 hours and we are very good on time. So again, anything you want to bring up, please feel free, use the chat, raise your hand, get in touch with us really if there's something you want to talk about. Okay. Okay, Alicia, yes.
Yeah, hi Rennie. Actually, I can't see the message window. Or do you send the link?
Sorry, you can't see which one?
The link of the exercise, the URL.
Ah, okay. Let me just actually share it again. I shared it earlier. Maybe it was a bit too early. All right. Yeah. Come through? Yeah. Okay, I just shared it again in the chat. So let me also just.
I'm sharing in the chat, is it?
I mean, for me, I can't see the chat window at all. My sidebar don't have a chat window. Oh, log in and log out. Okay,
oh,
sure.
You don't see this one here.
Yeah, I guess same for me.
Block for outside of people only the you can see.
Okay, I can log in and log out again. Thanks.
Okay, just a quick test. Can somebody who's not a presenter here just quickly type something in the chat just to let us know that you can see the chat?
There is no chat button, Rene.
No chat button. Oh.
I think the time Teams has been selected. Maybe chat has been disabled. Is it?
Same thing. I just log in and I just log out and log in again.
All right. So obviously then anything I put into the chat wouldn't properly work. So just.
Vivut, is there any option we can enable the chat later, or how is it?
I thought so. We already enabled. Oh, people cannot see it, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, where is the chat window? Okay. Okay, well, just a moment. Let me check what option we have.
I'm not sure if my project is still doing anything here right now. I'm just going to wait obviously because we're trying to figure out what's happening with the chat.
Hey, but it will be the same with all of you guys, right? Because I don't see any reason why the chat is not on. Yeah, anyone can post messages.
I think anyone can post message is the chat.
Yeah, it's already there.
That is already enabled.
Mm.
That's strange. I can add the chat only. Maybe any option you enabled, only organizer or the presenter can post.
Mm. Can you try to use the guest account? Maybe try to see it. Let's see.
I'm already the guest account, but you made me as presenter. That's the only difference. I'm the guest.
I guess the last time we had one OneDrive link, right? Can you upload over there better? I mean, we can get it from the same place where the OneDrive link where you uploaded earlier document file. I think hope everyone will have those OneDrive link. If you update in that place, everyone get from there. If we cannot available from now from here, is it feasible?
That is also a good idea. That is my OneDrive.
Oh, how about if we invite all the attendees to the channel, right? So let me ping the channel URL. Oh, but people cannot see the chat window.
You can post channel link in.
Okay. Shall we just set up a new meeting? I think that might be easier than adding all the attendees, because we set up a new meeting that's not part of a team or channel, but just outside and rejoin basically that separate meeting. Then, well, not ideal. That would then allow us to use the chat.
Okay, I think let's see this one. Yeah. Let me log in with maybe meanwhile open up while I'm checking the things. I'll share the instructions at the screen, right? That would be one of the options.
Good morning. Good morning. Udah nasi apa? Udah go Johnson? Okay.
Team members. Oh, okay. Chat in this channel is only available for the team members. Oh, I see now the problem. Yeah. Chat is only for team members. That's right. So chat is only for team members.
Right, everyone, just give us a minute. We're just trying to get things fixed so that we can actually communicate more effectively with each other. In the meantime, while things are still happening in the background, I'll just do a quick demo actually of what we created here of our default project. So you see that something has been set up. I'm just now going to use Gulp and grok serve to actually basically start my local server so that I can look at it. And I also get here this URL that I'm going to copy. That's something that we'll be doing a couple of times today. We receive a random URL that's only available for one session. Once we stop the session, obviously, the URL is no longer valid. But once I copy this and bring it into a new tab, right now it will actually complain that it can't reach at my local server. My tunnel connection is not working because obviously it's still preparing here in the background. But in a couple of seconds, it will be online. So let's just quickly wait and then I'll refresh. You see, basically, it started all the validation. Everything's OK. Started the building, preparing the server, everything. And everything's looking good so far. No errors. Very happy about that. And yeah, small warning, we can ignore that. And now we see basically, yeah, things are running. I'm also quickly going to grab a URL down here. So let me just go back here again, refresh. So while I'm accessing a public URL, obviously this gets tunneled to my local machine. I can see, yeah, hey, welcome to the MS Teams tab personal. So basically that's what I just set up. And when I open that Learn Personal tab, index HTML, let's see, we can see, oh, very nice. It hooks. This is your tab. This is not hosted in Microsoft Teams, so it's very rare that it's not in Teams right now, that it's actually running in a browser. And I've got a sample button. Hey, I can just click it and it works. So nothing too fancy, but at least we've got a very simple web application running right now that we could use, or that we will use actually for demo purposes. So we've got something up and running. We want to check basically how we can include it somewhere and how we can actually also then extend it a bit. But just to get things started, I think that's looking already quite well. What has also happened when I ran Gulp, basically it also, let me just move to my folder here. So again, I'm inside let me extend that in my MS Teams tab personal folder that was empty initially. Then I ran Yo Team, so everything was prepared. So I had my source folder and all the others. In the meantime, then the node modules was also added and the disk, but also here the package. And the package is the important thing because once I go in here, that's where my actual package of my tab app has been created. So once I ran Gulp, basically this one here was created, this zip file. And this zip file is something that I can now import into Teams. Let me just actually quickly do that. So switching over to my Teams tab here, I'm inside my own tenant. On the app bar on the left side, what I can do is I can select down here apps. And once I do so, I see all the apps that get recommended. Either they're part of my organization, so in my tenant app catalog, or they're generally available as part of basically the Office store. So you can see obviously there are a lot of very known apps that everybody knows, like Forms, obviously, or Flow, for example, but also then some third-party, Poly, Trello, Flipgrid, Jira, YouTube, etc., etc. There's a lot of apps. And what we want to do now is we want to upload a custom app at the bottom left. And I'm just going to say I'm going to upload it for me or my teams. Again, we're just developing right now, playing around. We're not going to deploy something properly right now. So just keeping it simple, going to my cdev MS Teams tab personal package folder. And I'm going to select that zip file, that package that was created, open. And we can see here, this is actually what has been created. So I can see there's an icon here. There's the name that I added, and there's some to-do information here. I don't have a short description. I don't have a full description. Not much here, but I'm just going to add it. And we can see now my MS Teams tab personal has been added here on the left side. It says now this is your tab. It tells me an ID, and here's my sample button. If you quickly check over here, this is your tab. Here, basically, what it says, this is not hosted in Microsoft Teams. But over here, it tells me something. I assume right now that might be my tenant ID or something. I'm not quite sure actually what it's displaying right now, but basically an ID that it retrieves through Teams. And again, I can click my sample button. It worked, same functionality. And when you're thinking about it, right now we added that tab here within Teams. When I access this one here, this here is actually still hosted locally on my machine. And you can see basically, oh, somebody has been accessing it. So once I actually, let's say, go over to Teams again, I'm going back here to my MS Teams tab personal. We will see again, another request has been made here. And what we also see here is, for example, it does not just access Learn Personal tab, but it also adds name, Renee, basically at moderator.net, the tenant ID we can see here, and the theme equals default. So we see that there are certain parameters that Teams already provides to my app that is hosted locally. So Teams tells me a little bit more about it. So I could, for example, now use that information to surface it in my current app as an example. All right. Sent a mail. Rivo, shall I just continue first? What's the current status?
Oh, yeah, we are sending a new link.
Yeah, okay. New link for a new meeting or?
New meeting, yeah, new link for new meeting.
Okay.
Apparently, right, the chat, if you link the meeting to the channel, only the channel member can type in to the chat there. That's
okay. So has the new URL been published? Can everyone join it?
Yeah.
Make it as a short URL so that user, at least if they see, also can join. And also
repeat again. What? Sorry, Sentiment, can you say that?
The
short
URL, and if possible, the QR code. Both would be useful for the attendees. Easy to join.
Okay.
All right, just hang on with us for a minute. So what we'll do, just maybe I'm gonna go into code again, going into the source folder, app folder, and I can see there's a Learn Personal tab folder, which just contains basically a little bit of information about my simple tab that I created. More importantly, there's the scripts folder with my Learn Personal tab. With the TypeScript file here, we can see basically where the React components get imported, Teams gets imported, and we've got a lot of things happening down here. And okay, the entity or the ID that we just saw over here in Teams, that's just my current state entity ID. So once I log out, log on again, I would get a different ID, basically a different session, but that's what I have here right now, basically. And you see basically that's the React code that is get used to render what we display here right now. We see, for example, my entity ID. We get here the context that we set here. If we know we're in Teams, then we set our entity ID to the current context entity ID. If we are not within Teams, that basically means, yeah, we are running in a web application. Then we provide the string is not hosted in Microsoft Teams. And this is just what we saw in here. So it's just simply figuring out, are we in Teams, are we not in Teams, and then we respond to it accordingly. That allows you, for example, with this code here, you can define, for example, are you in Teams? Yes. Oh, then let's do all the fancy stuff, etc. We are not in Teams, then maybe we just don't do anything at all and just show an error message and say, oh, this app is not to be used outside of Teams. That's an example. Maybe you just want to use it as part of a specific channel or so, as part of a specific team. Yeah, that's why we're making this quick verification here. Getting the context, are we in Teams or are we in Teams basically, and setting our information accordingly. All right. What's the status on our short URL?
I'm copying. Paste.
All right, so while this here is getting done, what we can do is show you this not hosting Teams. Please switch Teams.
Is that? So updating inside the MeetHub.
All right.
So the link is inside the meetup.
Yeah. So everyone, I need you to leave this current meeting here and join this one. So bit.ly/M365-dev1. Much bigger. So please leave this meeting, join this URL here, and we'll get to see you again over there. Then I'm just going to wait 1-2 minutes until I see the numbers dropping here. I'm also heading over there, and I'll see you over there in a second then. All right. some changes here in code, and yeah, try to test it separately again while my current session here is running. All right, so this is looking good. If I quickly check here, about is not showing anything. My Learn Personal tab again is showing my current context ID. And over here, I don't have any ID because I'm not in Teams. This is why I get this error message. And you can see there's a small delay because obviously it's JavaScript. It's not coming from the server side. So that's why it realizes, oh, it's not hosted in Teams. It does that quick check on loading and then provides that error message. Again, this would allow us then, for example, to differentiate what we're going to do. So if you're trying to access it outside of Teams, don't try to do something that would require a channel ID or something like that. All right, good. Just checking. Yeah, the chat is working. Excellent. So I'm just now going to continue. Let me just actually bring over my Word document to show you where we are right now. So we are testing the personal tab here. So running it locally, adding it to Teams. What we've done just now, we are going to quickly uninstall it. And then we're going to continue here with implement the personal tabs user interface. So what we do is I don't need this one here right now anymore. I'm going to say right click here on my app here. I'm going to uninstall it because I don't need it anymore. I'm going to add it again later. And separately, I'm going to actually press Control C down here. Hello. Yes, terminate. I'm going to stop our web server here. Excellent. So jumping back now into code. As mentioned, I've got my Learn Personal tab TypeScript file open. Here we go. Can you provide the Word document? Yes, good point. Let me just share that full URL here again. It's this one here. Yeah, it was a big, but you got it. So we are now working on exercise 1. Later, we're going to move to exercise 2 and 3, but right now in the middle of exercise 1. All right. So we can see here at the top, we're importing a couple of things. So what we need to do next is actually, we want to actually update the personal tabs user interface slightly. So I'm just going to grab some code here, and I'm going to replace this statement here. You can see here, import provider flex text button header from React North Star. I'm going to replace it with something a bit longer. What we are doing basically, again, we are getting provider flex text header, button also, but also a couple more things. So we're getting list alert, we're getting some themes information, etc. So a couple of things that are not fully used right now. In a minute, we'll start adding them. One important thing I just want to bring up here right now, we're importing here Teams theme, Teams dark theme, and Teams high contrast theme. The default Microsoft instructions right now just import theme. Problem with that one actually is that there was a change, which is why if you're trying to follow the steps right now, you will get some errors later. Doesn't compile, doesn't work, etc. Well, it does compile, but doesn't work in the end. So which is why we had to make a small change, which is why we're now using here Teams theme, Teams dark theme, Teams high contrast theme, just to basically react to whatever theme is currently getting used within Microsoft Teams. All right, then we need to, we see here we've got our interface for iLearn Personal tab state, so our current state. Here's the entity ID, so that string that we saw getting displayed previously. It's really just an info string right now. We're adding some more things. Let me just put them in here. So we are adding here tab Teams theme. This is now actually allowing us then to react to the theme that is currently used within Teams. Now, let me just actually switch over. Can actually change the theme here. Settings. Here, you see here the theme is the default theme, which is light. The dark theme, again, is dark, or the high contrast theme, which is, for example, if you're visually impaired, get some yeah, basically if that helps you to see things much better, you can also switch to this one. Just going to switch back to the default theme, the light one here, and we want to actually figure out which theme is currently used, and then accordingly you show our web application as well in the same way, so that if somebody, for example, under settings has set the high contrast theme, that they don't get blasted with the default light colors. Rather, we want to leverage yeah, the same theme functionality as well. Let me just switch to the light theme again. All right, so this is what we want to do. Next step, let me just grab a new method that we are adding here at the bottom of our, we see here we've got our Learn Personal tab class, where all the code that gets executed gets put in. So let me scroll down here at the end. I'm just going to add here one more method called update component theme, which does exactly what I just explained. So it checks basically, hey, what's our current theme? If it's the default theme, then yeah, let's just use the regular Teams theme. If it's dark, use the dark theme. And if it's the contrast, then use the high contrast theme. And that's about it. That's all that we are doing here. And then we're setting the state accordingly. So our function then sets it. A lot of wording here, but quite default, nothing fancy. There's something here I don't need. And I'm going to remove something. I just broke something. Yeah. All right. So what else are we going to do? We need to make another change here. Again, that's all part of the Word document, and making changes here right now is not too exciting. We need to now also replace this part here. At the beginning of component will mount, we say this update theme, do something. We are going to actually do a bit more. So we are again setting here update component theme. So again, we're not calling the default update theme method, but we are doing our own implementation here that we're calling in here at the beginning. And we're also setting a state. And when I see setting the state, we are just actually hard coding some to-do items here. So we're adding to-do items, submit timesheet, submit expense report. These are items that we actually just, you see, created earlier today. So we just want to actually display some to-do items here. We're not retrieving them from Microsoft To Do or Planner or any tasks planning or so, or SharePoint. We're just hard coding it here because we're just doing an extremely simple demo here right now. So simply said, we're showing some to-do items. We want to display them nicely. And later onwards, we're going to add a new form to add new items, but only as part of our current display. All right, then we need to do another smaller change. We need to update Microsoft Register this part here. So again, this would call right now update theme. We're not calling update theme. We want to call update component theme, our own method. Smaller change. And lastly, now the bigger part. Just scroll down, our render method. So public render, this is where we were previously showing, this is your tab, the sample button, the text, etc. I'm going to replace that all now with something else here. What are we going to do? So first of all, you see here, basically, we are using our current theme here. You see current state tab teams theme. That's the one that we actually look up initially. In the component will mount, we actually get the current theme, and yeah, just basically use it then as part of our rendering. We've got some header tab, we've got some icon here, and we've got here basically some things that we're trying to display here. Our to-do items actually, which we defined hard-coded up here, to-do items. So we see we're getting our current to-do items, and for each to-do item, we're just rendering as part of a list. Nothing too fancy, all looks good. And what we're going to do again is we're just going to run this one here again. Our gulp, so that we get the server up and running again. And once again, basically, we get a new URL here. Let me just grab this. And what I'm going to do again, I'm going to open this again in a tab here. We see it's not running yet, but that's fine. Everything is getting prepared right now. I'm going to the package folder, and we can see, oh, a new package was just generated, 1026 already, just when I ran the gulp command. What we can do now is actually, actually just wait, because I don't want to add it to Teams yet. I want to make a small change before I do so. Just going to wait a second here. And I'm going to quickly check. Yeah, all good. While this is running, let me just grab 2 URLs again and post them here in the chat. A bit smaller, just 1 second. Now it got sent, okay. And the second one. Here we go. Okay, so the 2 links here, the first one, or the one that I pasted second, going to docs Microsoft again, brings you again to the learning module, hands-on lab, everything that we're going through today. Again, this provides again a bit more information about what we're actually doing here as well, which I was talking about in that PowerPoint slides. When you go through that exercise here, just a quick comment here, I'm just going to show it to you while we're here, what we are going to do. For example, here you can see the change that I actually had to correct as part of my separate Word document guide. So you see here, for example, when we use that update component theme method here, it actually says theme equals themes.themes, themes.themes.dark, themes.themes high contrast, because we are importing just themes, whereas in this case here, the updated correct one is themes theme, themes dark theme, themes high contrast theme, what we are then also doing down here. It's a minor, smaller change, but we see it in all the modules that we're going through, all the exercises we're going through today, and without that change, you actually just get errors and nothing will work. Smaller fix, but I decided to not actually tell you in detail, this is what you always need to do, because you need to do it all the time. So I just thought I'm quickly going to update the guide generally. All right, having said all that, we can see now that my app is now running. Good. Let's switch over again to this one here. Let's just quickly open this. Nice. And I'm going to open this one here. And we can see, oh, not hosting Teams, please switch to Teams with an info icon, very nice. And we can see, oh, these are your to-do icons. So while they're not very special or so, we can see actually, yeah, there's at least something here right now. We're not actually going to work on, again, retrieving content here right now from any other Office 365 application or so. We're not trying to store that information. We're just demonstrating what you could be doing here. Now, one thing I want to show then is actually if I'm going to switch to a theme equals dark, we can see, oh, very nice, actually. So it switches now from the light view, which is the default, to the dark view theme. And if I'm going to select contrast, theme equals contrast, then we can see now, oh, this is now the high contrast theme. So what we just actually implemented in terms of, we react to the theme that gets provided is something that actually is then working here as well. And if you're wondering, how do we provide this theme parameter then to our web viewer, to our web application, Teams does that automatically. All right, good. So that's looking quite good here. What we want to do next is, we've got a small to-do here, add new list item form here. So right now, we've got nothing getting added here. So what we're going to do now is actually we're going to add a new function again. I'm going to add this here at the bottom. Or 2 new functions actually, handle on change, just a small event handler. So if something here happens, then we're just adding a new to-do value. And what we're going to do basically is we are just basically adding a new button. Once you click that button, add a new entry to the new to-do items array, and that basically also gets displayed accordingly. How do we now add this? Let me just grab the other code. Now we replace here this to-do section, add new list item form here. I'm going to paste it in. So now we've got here this section here. We can see here we're just basically displaying a small icon here. We are adding an input placeholder called new to-do item, where we just type in what needs to be done, and the button add to do, which when you click on it does handle on click. What is handle on click? What we actually just added down here. So you can see here on click we add an item to our to-do items basically. So our to-do items basically get updated and with whatever we just added. All right, so this is now preparing it again in background. So let me just actually get rid of this one. Let me just refresh. I think it might not be ready yet. No, still in progress. Let's just wait a couple of seconds. Finished, starting. So we're getting there. Still waiting for this line to disappear. All right, but let me just jump back into the code again. So again, we just added something relatively simple. We added the form here basically that allows us to add a new item in an input field. So we can provide in some text. We added a button that just says add to do. Once we click that button, what happens is again, we add the content of our input field here. Basically, we're going to say, oh, something changed here. So we're going to actually then just work on getting this new to-do value set when the content changes, and when that new to-do value basically then gets added to our to-do items. So let me look over here, looking good. Now it should be done. Let me refresh and yeah, there it is. So it doesn't say anymore to do, we need to add it. We see actually, yeah, there's something here, new to do item. So there's an icon here on the left side. We've got our big input here right now, new to do item, switch themes. Now click add to do. What happens is, again, it gets added to our array and yeah, gets accordingly displayed up here. New to do item, switch themes, finish demo. We can easily add some more. So again, this is now nothing fancy. I can now actually also switch to my dark theme again. Once I do so, we realize, yeah, it's just showing our default items again, because again, we didn't store that information anywhere. We just basically stored it in an array within JavaScript. So once we refresh the page, it gets removed, obviously, but we can add some things more again. Again, demo purposes, we're not making something extremely fancy here, but you will just want to show, hey, how can you make something a bit more dynamic here? How can you make something that actually then does certain actions on your tab then basically. Now, what we also want to do now is, as last part for this exercise here right now is, sorry, I don't want to go to here. I want to go over here. In Teams, I want to actually go to App Studio. So if you don't see the App Studio here, you can go to Apps, search all apps, App Studio. No, okay, still found it. Select it, and then you can either add it if you haven't added it before or open. So I added it previously. I've got it available, so I can just open it. What I can do is here now, the App Studio has got a couple of different functionalities. I'm going to open the manifest editor. And what I want to do is it allows me to actually do a couple of things. I can create a new app. I can create or manage bots. What I'm going to do is I want to import an existing app because we just created something that we want to use. So MS tabs tab, personal package, that's where we want to go. That's the one that I just did. Yeah, I'm going to open it. And we can see now here it has been added over here. I can now add some more details. So you can see here, for example, yeah, it just provides short name, the full name. So I can say MS Teams tab personal demo. Now I can now add a description here. So you see it just says to do add short description, Teams tab demo app. Full description, 4,000 characters, something that would be displayed in a lot. So this is a Teams tab demo app shown at M365 dev Bootcamp SG. Developer information, I could some more partner information, etc., etc. Let me just actually confirm that I didn't forget to add anything. There's one thing I want to do here. Let me just check. Are we actually still? Yeah, this is still fab. So website URL here looks good. This all looks good. Gonna keep that. Capabilities tabs. Let me just confirm here. I can rename the tab name. Right now it says Learn Personal tab. I'm gonna rename this to MS Teams tab app content URL. You can see that was actually added earlier by Gab when I ran my project here. So this is still correct. I could update it if required. For example, if I'm more or less happy with it, but I want to not more or less happy if I have got production URL or so, I can just make sure that the URL is correct, our content URL, what we're going to display here. You can see here, name is the login hint, tenant and theme, very important. All of that is shown. This is how our app gets the information. Quickly going to save it. So this has been updated and I'm going to test and distribute it. So I can install it, I can download it, I can publish it. Obviously, I'm not going to publish it to the my tenant's app catalog or to the Teams app store. It's just a demo app right now. I don't want to download it right now. I just want to install it for myself to show it to you. Install, and we can see already the preview here. It tells me, oh, that's the full name that I provided. Here's the full description that I provided, etc. So that's all getting done now. And once I add it within Teams, I can see now here MS Teams tab app. And we see, hey, very nice. It's actually the light theme that's getting displayed here. I've got my to-do items. That's all working nicely. Let me switch the theme to dark. And you see, I don't need to refresh here in the background, actually. You can see it here on the left side. It switches to the dark theme and to the high contrast theme. So if I close here, you can see, yeah, very nice. Does it automatically because it knows we're in Teams. It realizes I'm changing my theme. So it does that nicely automatically as well. And that's about it. So just going to confirm that we are now at the end of exercise 1. So we created a small app that was added here as a tab, a personal tab. We looked at how you can actually then respond to the different themes that are available within Microsoft Teams. So you can brand your own application accordingly then. We worked a little bit with React to show that, yeah, you can add a list here with list items. You can have an input box and a button that does action. So you can have obviously some interactivity here. All right, quick check. Any questions right now?
So this app does not have a backend at the moment? Yeah,
no, it doesn't have. So while this is something you could be doing, it's not part of this whole lab actually. What we'll see actually in exercise 3 later is how you can authenticate with Office 365 generally then, so that you could then again, for example, connect to, again, if you want to work with, for example, to-do items, how you could connect to Microsoft To Do or Planner or anything else, or SharePoint list, something like that, or yeah, what you could do there. It's It's a possibility, but doing it would be a lengthier exercise than what we've got time for here. But yeah, that's the current status here.
Is Angular the preferred framework for creating team tabs?
I'm actually not sure which one is the preferred. By default, I think usually you use React here, but I'm just going to say it's up to you, because obviously what you do in here in your file, you can see basically you can change it to whatever you're familiar with, what you like, what you're used to. It's completely up to you.
It's completely front-end agnostic.
Yeah.
It's basically a web view.
Echo this? Yeah.
Say again?
I would answer this.
Yeah.
Basically, the choice of the JavaScript framework is left up to you. You can even still use the jQuery or whatever you want. But why we prefer the React, or most of the samples if you see from the Microsoft, it would be on the React, because Microsoft has already created a set of controls, user controls, where you can play with easily only on the React. I don't know why, but there are more controls available from Microsoft.
Yeah.
Microsoft roadmap to use the React, so that's why we use React.
Yeah.
But if you're familiar with Angular, you can still do that. I
noticed
mostly use jQuery, so
I noticed the Fluent UI is strictly React themed, and also used for other Microsoft products like Azure 365. So yeah, that's probably the way to go. Even though we use Angular, and we just started learning Angular at my job.
I was more doing jQuery, so now I've started learning React.
Yeah, I have to keep growing.
All right, so that's the end of exercise 1. Let me just now grab a quick presentation. What we're going to do next. So we added basically a personal tab here right now. I'm not going to actually talk that much about what it says here right now. We added a personal tab, so they were previously referred to as static tabs. The scope is personal. Again, it's shown to an individual user only. Next, we're going to look at channel tabs. So not just basically, oh, I'm adding it for myself only, but you add it to a channel, and then everybody who's a member of that team or channel can then actually access it. What we can also then do actually is you can have a tab configuration. So when you add the tab, then there's a certain configuration wizard that opens where you can define some settings, make some changes, provide some default values, etc. But once it's been added, you can also modify it later onwards. We'll see that in a second. Let me just skip this. That's the configuration page. So again, we'll see how we can actually configure the tab and do something with it. For example, here we can see, for example, for a Maps tab, you could say, oh, I want to display it in Bing Maps and Google Maps, and depending on what has been configured, you then use the corresponding provider as an example. Again, this is now, configuration. So important to note here, now we can actually skip all that. There's a lot of information. We'll see how that's getting handled here in a minute as part of the demo. What we can also do is we can also add a removal page. So once we remove a tab, what happens then? It's optional, it's not required. Once you remove a tab, it can just get removed, but maybe you want to add some information, basically, for example, again, when you've got resources that should be cleaned up when no longer in use. Maybe when you add a tab somewhere, you store something else, some other information in another system. Maybe you want to clean it up when the tab gets removed. So there's that possibility as part of the removal page. And that's actually all I want to show as part of those demo slides. So what we want to do is, and let me just check. Just received a question, can our web app run in mobile version of Microsoft Teams? So I can't demonstrate this, I think. But basically, wherever you've got access to the tabs, then you can easily display. So your mobile app can obviously also run on a mobile if needed. Let me just see if I can. Oh, sorry, I can't actually show that to you right now, but yes, that's actually possible. And yeah, gulp, Yeoman, React, head is spinning. That's how everyone feels like once you get started with it. After you use it a while, it becomes a bit of a second nature, but yeah, to get started, there's a lot that you need to use initially, but luckily it also helps you prepare things. While it is a bit of effort here to get things ready, then you get used to it, like I said. All right, so what we're going to do next is, are you sure Python is not required? Python was actually installed as part of the Node.js thing, so I'm pretty sure it's also running in the background, yeah. But it's all in the background. I never touch Python as part of anything I'm doing here. Yeah. Okay, next thing we want to do, create a custom Microsoft Teams channel or group tab. So something really that we are displaying not over here. Let me just actually uninstall this one. Yeah, go away. But we've got a channel here. I'm in a team, I've got a channel, and I want to add a new tab on top here. And I'm not going to use any of the default tabs that are available, but I want to add my own here. For example, you can see, I added something here and over here. It's probably still because I never cleaned it up. But yeah, I want to add something new here into a specific channel or make it available to be added to a channel. So what we're going to do is, again, assumption here right now is, again, that you finished module 1. We've got something available. What we're going to do is we're just going to build onto that a little bit. We are actually updating our existing project. So what I'm going to do here, I'm still here in my current folder, in my MS Teams tab personal. I'm just going to run Yo Teams again. Let me just confirm. Yeah. You are running an already existing project. Are you sure you want to continue? And I'm going to say yes. Do you want to change the manifest version? No, I'm happy with that. I want to add a tab. What features do we want to add? Really just one tab. The default tab name, this one I'm going to call now config math tab. So what we're going to do is actually add a small mini calculator to it. We'll see that in a second. We're going to add a configurable tab. So again, the configurable tab is the one that gets added in a channel, for example. We're going to use it in a team. We don't need single sign-on. We want to make it available in SharePoint Online as a full web application. If added, that's it. So things are getting added, created, etc. And that was very fast now because we already had the existing project. Very good. And because we like doing it, we're just going to look at it again while it was running. So I'm just going to run gulp again. All right, this gets prepared. And we can see we got a new package here, 1050, just now created. Let me just confirm. What does it mean by making it available in SharePoint? Very good question. Centered Mill, do you remember that part? Do you want this tab to be available in SharePoint Online?
This tab to be available in SharePoint. I have not used Lay yet. I'll have to come back to them. I have not used that. SharePoint Online usually uses the SPFX directly with the SharePoint Online figured in. Yeah. But when you use it within Teams, I have not used it in SharePoint Online as Teams.
Yep, good.
I'll get back to you. Yeah, Andrew, that's a good question. I have not tried, or Renee has also not tried. I'll get back to you, sure.
Yeah, as a web part in SharePoint Online, but I also never used it over there. I completely focused on Teams actually. So this is something that we're not actually going to use today, but it's good to have it available. So if you want to explore, hey, you've got my application as part of a tab in Teams, you could then also actually display it in SharePoint Online. Yeah. But how it looks like, etc., no further idea on that. All right, so what we've got here now is things are still preparing, but we've got our updated package. So what I'm going to do now is I'm gonna go to my apps again. I'm gonna scroll down to upload a custom app, upload for me or my teams. And again, I'm still in that same package folder where my newly created, or not newly created, the newly updated package file is. And I'm going to upload it now again. I'm gonna open it. I'm not gonna add it actually. I want to add it now to a team. So instead of adding it and it's personal on the left side, I'm going to add it to a team now. And I'm gonna now specify where. I'm gonna just do my HR test because that's really just a test team. And I'm going to say set up a tab, and let's see what's happening here. So this, I hope I wasn't too fast. Yeah, I was a little bit too fast. Let me just do that again once everything here is running. Finish, linting. Because I want to show you actually once you've got the app running in the background, how it looks like once you add it then to the channel. So I clicked add a bit too soon. So I'm just going to go through it again, add to a team, HR test, but I'm not going to click set up a tab until it's really up and running. It's now going to take a short while again, but here it is. Finally, we've got some sort of errors with trading white space that we can ignore, but we've got it up and running right now. Very good. I'm going to add it now to my team, and yeah, this one opens, and now I'm waiting for my small configuration dialog. So as mentioned earlier, once you add a tab to a team, to a channel, you can display a certain dialog. This is what I'm waiting for here right now. Are you coming? Here it is, configure your tab, enter a value here, nothing fancy. Just gonna add some content here, but once I add it, this information actually gets stored and it actually gets shown here. So this is basically just a configuration value that I added as part of my setup of the tab here, and it gets remembered. So if I leave here, wiki, moving back to, no, not the service desk, separate testing, config math tab, we can see, yeah, it's still there. And what I can also do is I can actually go to the tab settings, and surprise, actually change it, save it. That's what a configuration is for. And you can see, yeah, it has been updated, so the exclamation mark is gone. And this is what we want to use basically right now. So let's keep that running right now, and let's have a look at what happened over here. So I don't need my Learn Personal tabs anymore. We can see now here we've got under in my source app folder, I've got now here my new tab, config math tab. You can see it does not, like the Learn Personal tab, only have one file that it actually gets or provides. It has actually 3: index, config, and remove. So index is the default that is shown, the page that shows when you open the tab, config, configuration page, and remove, what gets shown once we remove the tab. When I go over here, let me just actually show you config. As you can see, basically just does something extremely simple. We're not actually modifying anything here. That's all getting done as part of our TypeScript. We'll check out. The remove tab also does nothing fancy, just render some information. So we can ignore all that. And we're just going to move over here to the config, not this one, to the scripts, and open the config math tab file. All right, I'm new to adding apps to teams. What are the benefits of adding apps to teams versus adding a link to a web app as a tab? So what you can do is basically, as mentioned, let me just jump here again. You can, one thing, you can provide a settings configuration, configuration settings as part of the tab. So you can, for example, add a tab to a specific channel, provide some default configuration settings that should then be made available to your app. So this is something you could also do if you add a tab, for example, as website here, the URL let's say mysite.com / and then, for example, the parameters, and param1 equals value 1 and param2 equals etc. So this is something that you could be doing manually here as part of that, but as part of adding it as a Teams app, basically all that plumbing gets done automatically, plus you can work with it more dynamically. For example, again, you could now provide, or Teams provides information about the current channel that you're in, the team that you're in, the current user. You can easily retrieve information about the user, who's accessing it. You can provide information about the Teams theme. So the big benefit is really that you can provide a tight integration in the team. So when somebody accesses it here, when they access it as a website, yeah, it's tricky to basically tell the website, oh, who am I currently? While it could learn about it, it's much easier if you can already provide it as part of the current context parameters. So all those parameters, while you might think, yeah, it's just a little bit of information, they provide a lot of further value then to that Teams app itself. All right, so what did I want to do? I wanted to get things started here. So we added our app, and now we want to basically update the configuration tab. So we're going to update, actually I opened the wrong file, config math tab config. We're going to update it right now, because what's happening if I just quickly change back to here again, gonna go to my settings, gonna let me see. You don't see that actually right now in the background, so let me just change to high contrast, save. Yeah, that's all working nicely, good. Just want to confirm something here. So what we want to do is now, let me just go to config tab, and let's get a few things updated here. We're going to do something similar to before. I'm going to grab a big import statement that we add now here at the top. So not just provider flex header input, but a lot more. So again, with the themes, we're adding, you've got a value here, which we previously asked for. We're also adding here our team thing and a math operator. So math operator, the goal is right now, what we want to do as part of our tab, we want to basically provide a possibility to do some simple calculation. The operator would then be add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We're going to add our update component theme here at the bottom again. So this is exactly the same thing that we've seen previously. I'm just going to add it in here. We're going to update. Yeah, this is all the plumbing that we did earlier. I'm just going to do all those quick changes again without much comment here, because again, this is what we've done in the first. So then we do set state. We're going to replace we're not just going to set a value, we're going to set actually a math operator here. So yeah, that's good. Then we need to update register. There was a lot here. We need to update this part here. Let me just check. Yeah. Just making smaller changes, changing the display name a bit, the content URL slightly, and the entity ID. So entity ID, you can see basically we're setting it to the math operator, which we're going to also add in a second, plus math page. So we'll see how that's going to work in a second. We need to add a small event handler again here at the bottom. Right now we're just saying actually math operator add. We're not doing all the operations right now, we're just setting add. And we need to finally add our render method. So there's the default render method, which just showed the default value that we have. We're now actually adding a couple of items here. And we can see, for example, we add a drop down that says select the math operator, add, subtract, multiply, divide. We updated the theme accordingly, and yeah, we handle basically if something changes here. Edit the value basically. So default is add, otherwise the default value is add, otherwise add the string. Good. Anything? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here's the link to the Word document guide again. Good. So let me just check what's happening in the background. This is now still starting. Just need to wait again until it's done. It's complaining again about some trailing white space, which is not important. Everything else looks good. So let me now go back here again. Going back to my math tab, I'm going to go to the settings again. And you can see now configure. That's not what I wanted. It's still. Let me try again. Okay, let's just actually remove this. We can see here the information, what happens when I remove my tab. Gonna remove it. Over here, I'm just gonna actually do a quick recompile. Well, this may take another 30 seconds again. I just want to get an updated package again. So yeah, 1103, good. All right. Going back to my apps, upload a custom app for me and my teams. Selecting this, add to a team, selecting it. I'm going to wait again. I'm not going to make the same mistake again. And the idea is now that once it has been added, and that instead of having that small input text box, we'll have a drop down that we can then use to select, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and that we can then see that. And once we can confirm that that drop down is working, we'll also work actually on making it good use as part of our page, the index HTML basically. Okay, quickly looking at the comments again. Can team tab apps communicate with each other? Good question. Obviously, you could use some background database to store some information that needs to be transferred to each other. I'm trying to think of scenarios right now where that would make sense, but yeah, that's the main thing I could think of right now. Obviously, if you use some, I'm just going to say some database in the background or so, where you store some information that you could then basically read again on demand on a different tab, yes, that's working, but I don't think you can have further integration between them. Okay, this is running. We're going to set up a tab. So my tab gets added. The configuration dialog opens again. I need to hurry up a bit, select the math operator. There it is, add, subtract, multiply, divide, multiply. I'm just going to select add. Because we've got 25 minutes, we can see now, oh yeah, we're just displaying add math page, nothing fancy here right now, all good. So what we want to do next is implement the general tab over here. So I'm going to keep this one open. Now we're going to open here what gets actually displayed. Right now we just say add math page, nothing fancy. Let me just quickly update this here. And we're going to do quickly our fancy stuff again with, I think you know what I'm going to do, update all that UI stuff. Here, okay, import a bit different. We keep the entity ID. We're going to add a few more things. We're going to add a result, operand, A and B, and a math operator. So basically something like A plus B, where A is the math operator, or A times B, where times is the math operator, something that we want to do. Adding the private component theme again at the bottom. Updating our theming again here. And I'm going to update this one here. Okay, I'm going to set the this one here. This one, set state. Okay, if we're in Teams, then we're doing some math operation, showing it. If we're not in Teams, then we're just doing something different because our math operator is add, so we can't actually add a configuration. Otherwise, we use whatever has been used as part of the configuration. Now I'm going to add a big chunk of code. I'm just going to here at the bottom. What we again do, basically, we add some event handler. So if something happens, we set the operand A and operand B. So we add basically some input fields. If those fields change, then we just update the operand A and operand B that we have in here. We do an operand change. So again, if somebody clicks a button or so, then something should happen, which is if we're adding something, then we're doing addition, subtract, subtraction, and we can see basically we're just doing the math operations. Operand A, operand B, and the math operation, just doing the calculation here. But if if something goes wrong or so, we just actually say not available. Good. And lastly, we need to add that random method, because right now we still don't have any input fields. So let me just go up here again to this section. All right, so here, enter the values to calculate. We've got tab Teams theme. I made an error somewhere, 100. Whoop. 100, 102, 111, switch. There's one small mistake here. Let me just also update that in. All right, sorry, there was a small mistake in here. Now we should be able to get it done. All right, let's just wait until this is done recompiling. So we added, basically, again, we added the math calculation functionality with some event handlers and the actual calculations. We added our theming again, and we added here this small section as part of our public render method to render then basically some information. So we render two inputs that display operand A and operand B. And we added a button that says calculate. So once we click that button, then we do the calculation and then we display the result in a separate text box. Cannot find name theme. What did I? So I broke something somewhere. 102, 104, 113. Tab Teams theme looks good. Hundred two, 104, 113. No, that's correct. What did I do wrong? Tab Teams theme to be prepared. All right, let me just quickly grab my backup. I'm not going to try to troubleshoot that now. I've got the working version from yesterday. Add team theme. Yeah, that looks better. Let's just do that again. As you can see, I just made a small mistake somewhere. Could probably be fixed in 3-4 minutes or less, but I'm not going to try to find that right now. Cannot find name, title string, tab teams, theme. Yeah. All right, it just complains about the white spaces, which I'm not concerned about. Everything else is working now, so I only care about actional errors, not about white space. Let's just wait until this is done, and then we can move over again to Teams, because I never stopped my web server. My app is still running successfully, so waiting for this, because then I want to actually go to my config math tab, because right now, let's see what it's showing. Right, it's here, enter values to calculate. So we see right now operation is add. I can say 2 plus 2. Let's calculate 4. Surprise. Enter a bigger number. Everything working well. Very good. Let's change the settings quickly, because right now the default that we have is add. Let's actually use multiply. And we can see now, yeah, multiply added in here. So now let's do something smaller. 3 times 2, working, very nice. Do some big numbers, also working perfectly. So you can see right now we've got a configuration as part of our tab. That configuration gets stored. So even if I leave here, I'm going back to files, I'm going back to my config math tab. It's still going to say multiply. That's the config value that has been stored. And that's what I can use here right now, basically. And I can then leverage that configuration value as part of my app and then do something with it. So that's really one of those big benefits of using here that tab here and using that app here. So you can now actually do something with it. Now, it's still all relatively simple, and we've only got around 15 minutes for this lab, trying to quickly finish it now. Now comes really the exciting part. So we've seen now a lot of default things that we're doing. Next part is what has already been asked, hey, how can we now actually connect to Office 365, to any of the other services? That's what we're going to do now. We're actually going to connect to the Microsoft Graph and to actually do something. So exercise 2 is done. I'm quickly opening exercise 3 here. Let me just quickly rush through the presentation again, just to show you what we're planning to do. We are again going to add a tab actually, but we're going to authenticate with that tab so that the web application actually is allowed to authenticate with who I am right now, also against Office 365, and actually do something. So I'm going to authenticate myself with my account, going through all that OAuth 2 implicit grant flow with the Teams tab, etc. And then basically once all that's done, training as a user to Teams tab, OAuth 2, etc., that then basically means in the end, then yeah, my application is allowed then to do things against Office 365 with what I'm allowing it to do. So for example, I will, in our sample, I will actually then just check, not mentioning those slides, but I'm going to actually just retrieve my latest emails just to see that this can be done. So what we want to do now is I'm going to cancel this one here. I need to open exercises 3. And what we need to do is actually one important thing. We need to now get started first by opening Azure AD portal. So this is where we need some more permissions right now. So far, it was relatively simple what we've been doing. Now comes a step where we need to log in basically as admin for the current tenant, because we need to create a small application that is then allowed to call the Microsoft Graph or certain certain endpoints here. So accessing the Azure AD portal, going to Azure Active Directory. This is all powering Office 365. So if you want to create an application that gets access to Office 365, you need to actually register it here under App Registrations. So I previously created one. Let me just delete. That's last year's one. This is the one I wanted to delete. I'm gonna grab quickly the title. All right, so I'm gonna now create a new. It's very old. Oh, I'm gonna create a new application. The name Teams Calendar Graph tab. So again, this is the user-facing display name for this application. Can be changed. Again, I'm just gonna call it like this. Who can use this application or access the API? I'm just gonna say everyone within my own tenant, obviously. So keeping this default setting, I'm gonna register. And that was simple. I've now got an application registered. What I need to do next is I need to, where is it? I forgot something. I forgot the redirect URI actually. Let me just actually do that quickly again, just to show you how to do it properly. New registration. Here, I forgot to scroll down to this part here. This is where we need to add a redirect URL. So now I'm just going to say, I don't fully know it yet, so I'm just going to call it here auth-n.html. This is something that will update in a short while again, but right now I'm just going to do xxx dot basically our server URL. You'll see basically here we've got a redirect URL. So once we go in here, then we can actually update that. So what we will need is actually this application ID. That's very important. I'm going to copy it in a second once we need it. So what we need to do is I need to, let me just confirm that, yeah, got it. I'm going to select here, redirect URIs. Now it's listed here. That's the one I wanted earlier. I'm going to now go down here, implicit grant. So we need to allow it access tokens and ID tokens so you can leverage them as part of the single sign-on. Okay, this has been saved. So now it's allowed, I'm not going to remove it, I'm going to keep that. Under this part and under API permissions, we need to add more. Right now, the API permissions, it's allowed to both sign in and read user information. We need to add one more. So I'm going to add one more. I'm going to connect to the Microsoft Graph. You can see there's a lot of different APIs. We're just going to use the Graph, and we're going to use delegated permissions so that I can access the API as the currently signed in user, so that when I access something, I'm accessing really as whoever is using the application. And I'm just going to say read user mail. So that's what I'm looking for. I select permissions. I was just filtering by mail.r. I'm selecting mail.read, read the user mail, adding the permissions. And this has now been added. So now basically this application would be allowed to get user information, but also read the email. All right, so this has been done. Going back, let me just confirm, yep. Going back to API permissions, I'm gonna say here now grant admin consent again, just gonna refresh everything again. So we can see now, oh, all those permissions have been granted. So now it's finally allowed to, while it has been set up before, it was not granted yet. It has been granted now. So we can now actually get started. Once again, quickly going to my dev folder, I'm going to create a new folder, MS Teams tab, mail, let's call it mail. Opening the command prompt and going new Teams. And I apologize for rushing through it right now, but because we don't have much time, I don't want to basically start holding up who's coming after me. MS Teams, I'm going to hurry up a bit. MS Teams, auth tab, use the current folder, learn MS Teams auth tab. Contoso, we're going to use 1.7, no partner ID. We're going to use a tab. We're going to use the default URL, no. No. Default tab name, learn off tab, making it a bit shorter. What kind of tab do we want to create? Again, we're going to create a configurable tab. We're going to add it to a channel, to a team, and we're going to add it to a team here. I do not require single sign-on for it. I'm just going to say, again, available in SharePoint Online as a full-page application, and things get prepared again here. So that's going to take a short while again here to get things set up. Just quickly check the chat. Okay. So again, setting up a new project right now so that we can then implement that authentication. As part of this application, what we are going to use is actually we are going to use this app that we set up here in a short while. That's why we will need this application client ID, because again, basically this will allow us then to connect to the graph as part of whoever is currently logged on and then retrieve the mail. That's the final goal here. Okay, I can close this one. And we can see setting things up takes a while initially. Okay. So what I can do in the meantime is let me just close my folder here. I'm going to open the new one already because while it's getting set up, we can already use it, the mail. Let's just have a quick look at the structure again. That should not be a full surprise after you've seen the first lab. So we've got our source folder here right now. Inside the source folder, we've got our manifest and our app folder. In the app folder, I've got my learn auth tab. This tab again is a simple thing. Again, it's got the index config removed that we've seen previously. I'm not going to do anything with this right now. Actually, we're not going to do anything with this at all. And under scripts, when I go over here, we can see we've got config again, we've got remove, and we've got our auth tab. All right, so while things are still getting set up here, waiting for it to finish. Yeah, I also love that you can do so many things with Visual Studio Code. Previously, you had a different version of Visual Studio. Things sometimes got a bit messy and things. Codes luckily seems to simplify a lot of things. And I don't even have Visual Studio installed anymore. Well, previously there were a couple of different versions, sometimes even installed. Right now, a lot of things that need to get done can be done easily in code, and obviously it's a very lightweight development environment. So web development is something I like to do in it, or other things. So yeah, Visual Studio Code is really a great thing. All right, still waiting here. So what we are going to do now is actually, let me just actually show you. So we're setting things up here. I've zoomed out a bit too much. We're setting up the permissions. That was done. We're setting up the project. Once we're done with the project, I just actually need to add two more modules, basically, or two more packages. So the graph client, so that we can then actually also leverage the graph within our project here. So this is still, it's here, perfect. So npm install, I'm not going to type it in, I'm going to copy it over. So that's much faster usually. Just adding here the graph client first, and the second one here again, the graph. So we can get that ready, perfect, that was easy. Now we do quick fancy UI things again that we've been doing regularly now. Importing here, changing. We are also adding one more thing here. We're going to import an email icon so that we've got an icon here from for React. We're going to add our popular tab Teams theme. We're going to add our component theme. need to update where is it? We don't use update theme, we use update component theme. So again, you see I'm doing the same things I'm doing over and over again just to make things, just to using the default theme that we're using, and we need to register this one here. Okay. So now we've got at least the UI more or less settled here. So we're using the current theme. We're going to import something else, and we're going to import again the graph client and graph so that we can actually then again connect to Office 365 and retrieve the email. We also need something else here as part of our tab state. So we're going to need the access token. So again, once you're authenticated, you've got an access token that you can then use to call the Graph API. This is why we need to use it here. And we're going to actually use messages here to store all the emails that we're going to retrieve here. We need to add now a small constructor here at our Learn Auth tab. Just adding here private graph client and a constructor just to initialize things here. Again, initializing meaning nothing's here, just empty items. But again, basically, obviously, it is not something that should be shared, but only shown for the current user, which is why we are doing it for the current one only. We're going to update the random method, which is not going to do a lot of fancy things, which is actually just, again, showing basically RISC messages in current user's mailbox, where add a button to retrieve the messages and then show the messages in a list. And I'm not going to show actually much. I'm just going to show actually the subject and when it was received. Now we can see basically there's a handle get my messages on click that it complains is not implemented. So we're going to add this one here, this small handler, which again will complain because I don't have to get messages now, which is we are slowly now working towards to. So now I'm dropping a lot of code in here. First of all, I'm going to add here. That was the wrong location. I was a bit too fast. I need to put this at the end of this one here. So as part of our component will mount, so once our app starts running, we are actually initializing our graph client, we are authenticating and getting the access token. It complains now we don't have the get access token method and we don't have get messages. So we need to work on adding all those things. So let me scroll down now. Again, there are a couple of complaints currently. Get messages, that function simply said, oh, we're going to sign in. And then once we're signed in, we're going to, with the current access token, basically, we're going to retrieve all messages. Actually, not all. We're just going to retrieve 15 messages, and we're going to do something with it. And when I say we're going to do something with it, we're just going to store it in our messages array, and then we're going to basically get them displayed. Complaints about some missing functions right now. For example, this sign in. Sign in, I'm just going to add, that's nothing fancy, getting the token, setting it. But that get access token is also a default method that nothing much needs to be set. We're just displaying a auth start HTML page. We're defining how large it is, and basically this will then help us to get the get the token. Now auth-start.html does not exist right now. So if we go to web over here, we can see where do we actually need to create that. That's in directly in web. You can see here we've got index privacy to, but nothing else. So I'm going to create a new file of start, and let me grab a lot of code here. That's more or less a default page that we're using, but one important thing is we need to replace something here. You can see here the client ID. That's where we need to grab this client ID from our app. So we know then this is something that we will write here, and this will then allow us to actually do something. Next, we also actually need, sorry, that's the wrong folder, not just auth start, we also need a new file auth-end.html. If you're interested in looking at the code in here, feel free to do so, but it's really just a default authentication process that is quite standard, so there's nothing fancy happening in here. It's also something you can easily use in existing other applications, and so you can see basically just use the default Azure AD libraries just to connect with it. And we're just saying, okay, what's our client ID? That's the only thing that we are updating here. All right, so that has been updated. We've got the auth end, we've got auth start, we've got our everything in here updated. There should be no more errors. And now comes the fun part. We are going to just confirm, yeah, I've got everything correct. We are going to do, again, our gulp. Let's actually get things started here. So it's starting, everything here, it's running now. Let me just move over here to my Teams tab mail, package, perfect, that's our package, which I'm gonna prepare to add. Quickly going to apps, upload a custom app, upload for me again. We're not going to add the personal, we're going to add the mail app now, package. And I want to now, you can see basically previously we had for our personal app that we created, we could add it to the sidebar or to a tab, to a channel. Here we only have the option to add it to a team because obviously there's no personal tab implemented as part of our app. We can just add it to a team. I'm going to select something and I'm not going to click yet, just waiting for this one here until it's actually fully up and running, just to confirm then that it's all working. Things are looking good so far. And we're basically also nearing the end of this lab, so we're supposed to end 3 minutes earlier, but because of the small delay we had earlier with the missing Teams chat, let me just confirm, it's missing a semicolon, okay. Learn off tab, so good, I made a mistake, 201, what did I do? Obviously, yeah. Copy paste error, and the other error was missing semicolon, statements are not aligned. But as mentioned, we're nearly done. I'm just quickly going to check my mails. See what's in there. Okay. All right, just to show you, yeah. So we've got a couple of emails here that we can see here. So you see there's a couple of emails that we will also see in a minute or so then within Teams actually getting surfaced there. So right now you can see I've got, for example, latest from Centermeal, from the developer bootcamp, there's some alerts I set up, Kickstarter, Daniel Anderson, etc., etc. This one is now running, perfect, so no more major errors. We don't care about trading white space and statements are not aligned. I don't know what that is, but shouldn't matter so much. Let's go back to Teams here. This is done. We set up a tab. See, configure your tab. That's again a default dialog. I can add something here, but we're not using it at all right now. So you could do something or you could skip it. Now you can see, yeah, here's recent messages in current user's mailbox. Nothing yet here so far. I click on Get My Messages. It's starting the authentication. It's showing me the default login.microsoftonline.com dialog. So I'm logged in here with 2 accounts. Obviously, I want to use this one here, Rene@moderate.net. And we get an error. I know why, because I forgot to do something as part of my URLs here. Obviously, this URL is not quite correct, which is why it can't bring me there. So what is the current URL? Where are you? Here. again. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna save it. One important thing I forgot: the redirect URL obviously was broken before. Now it should work. So if I go back to my team, get my messages. So I was able to authenticate, but then bringing me to the application didn't work, obviously. And now it's working, and you can see, yeah, perfect. Here are all the emails from my inbox. So you can see, for example, here, Teams link for the hands-on lab, etc. Everything, all the 15 messages I wanted to retrieve coming in from my mailbox right now. And this is just an example how you can connect to via the Microsoft Graph to Office 365. Obviously, there are more possibilities. So if you go over here to API permissions, you could do more things here. So add a permission, again, the Graph allows us to do a lot more. So we could now, for example, you see there's a whole lot. So we could now connect again to mail, what we're doing right now. I could connect to, where is it? For example, there's the tasks API that I could connect to. There's more about the users, etc., etc. Let me just find. No. Here, for example, I could connect to my calendars, etc. So again, everything that's available of the Microsoft Graph, you could connect to from here and yeah, leverage within your Teams tab. That's all we wanted to show as part of this demo here. That's the last exercise. I hope you managed to get through. If not, don't worry. The instructions are still available. I corrected any minor mistake that was there. Everything else should work right now. So you can now basically get started with yeah, setting up your own or creating your own first Teams app tab. Either a simple one that doesn't connect to anything, or you could get started with connecting again to the Graph and, for example, connect to SharePoint, tasks, to-do, planner, calendar, etc., whatever's available. Having said that, we're now at the end. Any questions? Okay. Where can the instructions be gotten? Okay, I'm just going to grab the links again, make them very big and fat. First of all, the updated instructions are, wait, let me just actually try to get my mouse cursor, doing this, this, and this. This is all you need. Here we go. All right, LinkedIn, yes, I have. So it's actually, if you just look for my name, Rene Moderate, then you can find me there. That's the easiest part. There's only one of me. Good. Instructions have been provided. Now, the last thing quickly want to mention, again, want to ask you is actually, we need your feedback. So we're going to mention it again during the day, basically. But if you're only here for one session, you can already provide feedback. This is now for you to provide. Yeah, Centermill just posted it. Perfect. What we need is basically feedback generally. So the first link links to the Microsoft feedback form. That's very important to us. If you provide feedback there and say, yeah, it was a great event, I learned a lot, hope to have something like that again. Obviously, Microsoft is very interested in hearing such things. And if they say, yes, it's going well, then they will also provide us with more sponsorship opportunities in the future. And we can have future events. So same thing as last year, you provide good feedback. Chances are we will hold the same thing again next year with support from Microsoft. And second item is just our local survey. So again, feedback on the session here or the other future sessions. All right, that's it. I'm already a bit late because I need to leave right now, actually. But yeah, if you've got anything else you want to ask, feel free to ask in the chat. Other than that, I'm just trying to figure out the schedule. Who's actually next?
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Please survey the SG survey, because that's how I can find out who are all attended and can distribute the swags or the t-shirts, whichever. Please do the SG survey. That is mandatory to claim the swags for SG attendees or the Singapore attendees. Global survey, again, try to do that. It is for the Microsoft, as Rene has mentioned. We'll be here. Rene would be here for a while, right? Yeah. Or I can convey the information.
Yeah, I need to leave right now. Actually, I need to fetch my daughter, so I need to really log off.
But anyway,
Yeah.
keep on the question. I can chat with Renee anytime and then clarify any doubt as well. So probably we'll move on to the other session. Next session would be Jiva on the onboarding of Power Platform with the graph.
Hello, hi, Santaman. Thank you. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I know it was
Yes.
exciting workshop
Jiva, I
from.
can hear you. You can able to present?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Just. Let me share my screen. Come on. Let me know once you're able to see it. Can I see my screen? Santaman, can you please confirm?
Yes, I can see the screen.
All right. Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from different parts of the world. And welcome to Microsoft 365 Developer Bootcamp, year 2020. Thank you for joining today in this weekend. And thank you, organizers, for organizing such a wonderful event and giving me an opportunity to present in this great event. So without further ado, my name is Jiva Rajan Kumar. You can call me Jiva. And yeah, I'm a business application MVP. Also, I lead a couple of user groups here with respect to Microsoft business applications, and also a global event called Power App for Kids, where we teach Power Apps for the kids. And this is my social media handle and my website name. And to follow, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can scan this QR code. All right, so I just flash it for 5 seconds. Okay. Moving on. So what are we going to see today in this, Power Automate. So what is exactly Power Automate? As you have seen, if already using Office 365, Microsoft 365, you may be seeing Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power Virtual Agents, all those things in your tenant. And you must be wondering, if you already know, then well and good. If you're not, you must be wondering what are they. And today we're going to see an introduction about all this, the Power Automate adaptive cards, and there will be detailed session on adaptive card after this by Reboot. But this is going to be just introduction and using it to for the onboarding process. And we'll see how we can use Power Apps as well, and then demo on the Power Virtual Agent, and finally using Graph API to create a custom connectors for the Power Automate. So when I talk about Graph API, we will not see a detailed demo on how to build the Graph API, and because there is already sessions on that, right? So we just see how we can leverage the Graph API feature as part of this whole onboarding process, and a live demo, of course, and a quick introduction on project updates, since because Microsoft 365 as part of the Teams, the Microsoft is offering the whole product suite. Whatever we're talking about, Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power Virtual Agent within the Teams itself. So within the Teams, anybody can build and use these features. And finally, we'll end up the session with the Q&A. So going at next session, next slide. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So this is the architecture of Power Platform, high level. So we have Azure service. You can see the core services at the end is in fact the Graph API, the Microsoft Graphs APIs. and SQL Azure, and Cosmos DB and Azure Synapse Analytics. And you can see the second level, we have services like community services, bot services, logic apps, functions, and API management. And on top of that, the whole Power Platform that comes with the Microsoft 365 license has been built on. So this actually provides some level of abstract layer on top of these services. But also you can always, write a connector directly to the underlying services like this, to SQL Azure or Cosmos DB, Graph API, and then you can leverage the advantage of that, and you can build your application. So the whole idea about having this Power Platform is to combine the low-code developer and the pro-code developers. It's open for anyone, and to build a rapid application development. So whatever application we are trying to build, many things, at least a few things can be, most of things can be built at faster with using this, Power Platform. So we'll see shortly how what do I mean by rapid application development. So yeah, so Power Automate. So first thing is Power Automate. So Power Automate is, if you already used Logic App, Power Automate is going to be very similar to that one. So this is basically to automate your workflows, automate the process, integrations as such. So that would be, for example, like getting a notification or sending an email, synchronizing the files with another DB database, cloud system, or like that, and then collecting the data from the users, and then doing approval process, and many more. So the next slide, in a couple of slides, you'll see what are the various connectors available as part of the Power Automate. Just a moment. Yeah. So what makes up basically flow? So we can either manually, there are multiple triggers for the flow, manual or scheduled or automated, like that. So these three, in case of automated, it will be based on the trigger events. So whatever the event that is triggering the flow will be starting the flow. And then you will have actions. There are lots of actions available in the free actions and premium connectors. So we call this free connectors or premium connectors. And we'll see how the custom connectors, that the Graph API, really comes handy to save cost and time. So now talking about the actions, so we can use actions to get data from data, or we have send the data, we can do approvals, we can integrate data, so something like that. And then, so what makes up a flow? So the connectors, as I said earlier, so connectors define how you can connect the services with the flow. And there are over more than, I think now it's more than 400 connectors available. And there are standard, premium, and the custom connectors. So custom connectors is some area that developers like us will be interested in to build the connectors. And then finally, the data gateway, in case of we're talking about sending the data to do the data operation between the flow and the on-premise system. So there's we get gateway installed, and that will be providing access to the on-premise systems. And also, as you can see, the custom API uses the Swagger file format enum to do that. And then finally, to how to get started. So I'll be sharing the links how to get started with the Power Automate in the chat by the end of the session. So you can see the out-of-box templates that you can use, like starting and approve. This is just one template, but there are lots of templates that you can see to send that can be used for the Power Automate. And the same flows can be customized in between. After using the template, we can add more stuff to the template or modify that, or we can start from the scratch altogether. And we can also use functions, Azure functions, and logic apps, and call that from the flow and extend the integration. So I'll share the resources where to start with and how to do that later. And then we are also going to use adaptive cards. So adaptive card is it's in a basically open card exchange format, which can be embedded in many places, right? So it can be used in Teams and other applications as well, like you can see Android, iOS, or WDF, ASP.NET. Today we'll see how to host that in the Teams and use the information from the adaptive card. And yeah, so I don't want to go too detailed in the adaptive card because there are going to be next complete workshop on that, and that will be very interesting. I'm waiting for that as well. And yeah, we adaptive cards, so it allows developers to customize the card layout, and it avoid custom HTML elements in cards, and it renders better. And it's also portable. It can be added to any app, any device like that, and it's low cost because and it's purely expressive as well. And the adaptive cards in Microsoft experiences. So as I said, we have Outlook. We can use it in Teams. We can use it in web chat. We can use it in timeline and web applications. So primary elements of the adaptive cards are cards that holds the the elements whatever you want to put on the card, and then like text, images. There's a called card elements, and then containers, like you can group the card as a container, like how do you in PowerPoint. And then you can define actions that can happen at the end of each trigger. And then inputs, of course, that the card can receive. Again, I'm going to share some samples and templates but I think the next session we will be sharing more content on the adaptive card. And finally, we're also going to see what is Power Ritual Agent in the demo. So Power Ritual Agent is it's completely a low-code chatbot development experience. So if you're already a pro developer, and I know you will have used Azure bot services, right? So when I show you, you can understand how Microsoft has layered that on top of the bot services, and they have built this Power Ritual agent that can be built without writing any piece of code. And this can be extended again with your Q&A maker or your bot services directly as well. So you can see, like you can let's say you have a scenario where your organization, your business folks, like let's say HR or a business representative, build the app, build this agent, the base the skeleton, and then they want a certain function which they cannot achieve. Then they come to a development team, and then they will build a separate bot from the scratch using bot services or a Q&A maker, something like that. And that module can be again, rendered, added to this Power Ritual agent, and like now we can add things like building blocks and keep extending it. So since most of you are already well aware of this building the bots from the scratch and building the creating the Graph API, consuming it. So my idea of in this session is to bridge that, take it to the front level, and show how we can bridge this skills with the actual business skills and the business applications that the platform is offering. That's what I'm going to show in my whole demo. So yeah, to say that bots are typically right, the bots are hard to create and expensive because we need a separate development team to maintain the bots, and subject matter experts. The development team has to be closely aligned with the subject matter experts. There will be always some kind of miscommunication, and it's always, there's no way that we can avoid it. There will be always something like that. And the idea of this bot, the Power Ritual agent, is it democratizes the AI. That's the key word, democratizing the AI. So what does that mean? So we are just giving the business users or the subject matter experts itself the potential to create the powerful AI bots like this, and then we can continually enhance this, or we can club it with the other bots that hasn't built from the scratch, and or we want to extend it, we can again build it from the scratch using the dev team and add it to this one. So as we can see, the whole Power Ritual agent is built on the Power Platform and the bot framework both, right? And how to get started, again, I'm going to send all the links at the end of the session for all these three, and for you to start with. And then finally talking about the custom connectors for Graph API, definitely the flow supports lots of out-of-box connectors, and also most of the connectors are free, and there are premium connectors as well. And so in the biggest advantage of having a custom connector is we can write our own APIs, and we can host it in and register it in just what Rene showed, right? You can register in Azure, and then you can consume it from here as Power Automate. So with that, what is the advantage? Again, it's flexible because you can go beyond the default capabilities of the connectors that Microsoft is offering, and you can extend it to other APIs. And it's also easy of use because once you have built your connector, it's like any other connector. You can just call it in the Power Automate. And it's of course reduced cost because you can bypass the premium connectors cost. And security, it's authenticated via the Azure Active Directory. And the steps to do that is quite simple, like what he showed. Either you can, first thing is, of course, you register in your Azure Active Directory with the app registration, and then one way is to create the Postman collection and import the Postman collection Swagger files into the Power Automate custom connector portal, and then from there you can use this connector to the Power Automate. Okay. So this is the whole scenario about the demo that we are trying to see. So this is actually to mimic how when let's say some new user joins your organization, how as a IT team we can automate the process to do the for our organization to handle the user onboarding. So let's say some user joins the team, Microsoft Teams, how we can automatically send in some welcome message, and then guide him through the training materials, onboarding, because usually when you onboard the organization there will be lots of contents available. Sorry, lots of process that needs to be followed. So we can guide the users automatically on this process and the steps that the user needs to take. And also, whenever the user have a query, typically what he do is he reach out to HR team, he will email, or he will ask the colleagues or somebody like that, right? So to even automate that, to enhance that experience, they're going to have a chatbot embedded in the Microsoft Teams itself. So we're going to see everything inside the Microsoft Teams, by the way. So then the chatbot embedded in the Microsoft Teams, so that whenever the employee has a query, so he can reach out to the helpdesk bot, and the helpdesk bot will be able to help the users, the employees, right? If at all the helpdesk bot cannot answer the question or couldn't satisfy what the user is asking for, the employee is asking for, it will then bypass the request to the HR. So you can see how and you're going to see how fast we're going to build this whole experience, and yeah, in the Teams itself. All right, so yeah, so with that, let me go back to my tenant. Yeah. So this is my Microsoft Teams, and in the Contoso onboarding channel, let's say I'm using this channel to cater the information for the new employees who are joining in my company, my organization. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just create or add a new user, so you can see what happens when we add a new user. So this is the asynchronous process. So it takes a while. So I'll add it, and then I'll show you the response that I got earlier. So let me go and add a new user. Member to the team. So when I add a new member, what happens is, you may not see it immediately because it's a asynchronous process, as I said earlier. But what happens is you're going to get an automatic message like this from the flow. This is an adaptive card, and you can see this. You see that the message has been posted from the human resource team immediately to the channel. So it will ask for welcome and blah blah blah. So we are looking forward to have your contact details enrolled to a database. So can you please provide something like that? So what happens is, in this case, it's just the adaptive card gets the information, and then it stops here. But actually, you can extend it. In the next section, probably you might see more on that. So you can get the adaptive card response, and you can send it to a database or another system, or and to capture the data. So something like that. Okay. So this is just or instead of just on top of this, you can also have more content here, like flashing the training material or kickstarting sending the attachments in the adaptive card itself, but to make it simple, I just kept it as such. So what happens is, when we do that, behind the screen, if I go to my flow, so this is the previous run. So the current run haven't yet started. So you can see that the flow is triggered, and it basically what it does is I'll start with how I created this flow, how I started, but I'm just showing you. First I'll show the demo, then I will show step by step how to build the whole environment, the structure that we have now. It's taking so much time. What happened? Yeah, so you can see the previously the team is user is created. So I'm just getting the user profile. So this is another. These are all just another action that you can do. So I'm using this get user profile action to get the complete user details, and then I'm sending the users. We are very happy to have in the team like that. So by now, if I had logged in with this user, he would have gotten an email. And then this is the action that I'm using. Post a message to the is it for me? Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so yeah, it will post the this is the adaptive card. It will post the message to the teams, and on the response of this adaptive card, you can keep adding more stuff. So we'll come back to that one later. Yeah, so I think I'll just show this, and then I'll go to the next the bot and the app. Okay. So how did I do that? How did I automatically post the message here? How did I create the adaptive card? The first thing is, what I did is I went to the flow and I created a new flow. So this time, as I said earlier, we have an automated flow or instant flow, a scheduled flow. So I just chose an automated flow. And while creating automated flow, the first thing is, you have to enter the name, and then you choose what are the triggers you needed. At this point, I wanted to have a trigger when somebody is added to the team. So a new member is added to the team. See, so this is the trigger that I used. Okay, so if I go and edit my previous one, you can see that. So this is the new team member trigger that we just saw. Once you do it, it will bring you to this kind of editor similar to your Logic app. And then here, I just added this one more action. So you can keep adding many actions. The action that I used is the get user profile. So what I did is I just search for that respective action, and it will be showing up here. And that's how I added this one. And with that, the next action immediately added is send a mail Outlook email. So if I do not know what exactly I can do to use, I can just search Outlook, and it will show all the actions that comes as part of the Outlook, right? You have lots of actions that you can do. So you can see, create. In fact, you'll see most of the contents that is available already in the Graph API is already used here, because if you remember the architecture that I showed earlier, so this also actually consumes the Graph API internally. So you can see all these APIs are already there in the Graph API. You can see if you go to the Microsoft Docs. So all this are already there. So without consuming any API, writing an API, I can just do this, and it will internally call API and build it. But we can also write a custom connectors using those Graph APIs, and then we can save the cost. Let's say some of the connectors uses premium connector, we can save the cost. If there is if there is nothing, we can write a custom API from the scratch. Okay. So yeah, after the email, what I did is I calling this action. So to call this action again, just go and write an action, and let's say adaptive cards. It's going to throw me a bunch of actions currently available with the adaptive card. And you can see the one that I used is to post an adaptive card to the Teams channel. Okay. So the moment I do that, it's gonna ask me for 5 inputs. So to which team I need to post this adaptive card to. So as you can see, I have 3 teams here. but what I'm choosing is the contoso, and then which channel. Once you choose the team, it will filters for the channel. So the channel that I'm showing here is the general sales onboarding. We are choosing the onboarding channel, and then the message. So this is where you need to use the content from the adaptive card. So to do that, what you basically do is, you go to the adaptive card, and then you choose a designer. Okay, and system will just show a sample card designer, but I don't want to go detail on this because the next workshop is totally focused on things from here. So you can see this is just a card schema, a card template, and inside that you can add text box, image, media, and you can call an action from here and get the inputs also from there. So what I did is, so if you can see my designer, so you can see welcome the user. So this comes from the Power Automate, but I will show you here. So I just added one text and one more sample text, and the inputs that I get it from here. Usually it will be empty, and then this is the text box, input text, and this is text block, and again one more input text and a button. So once you do that, you can also go to preview mode and you can test, see what is expected from the input. And then the moment you keep adding stuff to this place, you'll see the JSON getting generated here. You just copy this JSON and then come back to your flow and paste the JSON. That's all. Okay. So once you paste the JSON, you need to fill in the dynamic values, right? So let's say I want to say welcome user to the team. So if you see, this profile will actually give me all this Office 365 profile data from the organization. So I can just say welcome, and you can see this, all the data that I see here comes from this particular action, the user profile action. So if I go to display name, I can just get the display name from there, and I can get the team. Okay, and similarly department, whatever stuffs we see here from my Office profile, I can get it and fill it here, use address and so and so. Okay, and that's all. So I save this, and to test this, I basically need to create a Teams. You see the one that we created now, it's already done. So if I go back to my onboarding, you can see welcome Spencer to the team, full name Spencer, designation. So if I go enter again, as I said, some contact number and stuff, and I just say submit it. Yeah, I have it. As I said earlier, I haven't extended it, but if you want, you can always extend the response from the adaptive card, and again send this back to your SharePoint or your update Office 365 profile, or putting into different like Microsoft List or CDS for that matter, and then you can use it in the app. So this is how I have achieved this particular functionality. The second thing I would like to show you is the app. Okay, so let's say now the user has, before going to chatbot, I want to show quickly on the app.
Sorry, can we ask questions or no?
Yeah, sure.
So I wanted to find out if you wanted to just, because that's just posted into the onboarding channel, isn't it? So if you just wanted to just post, if you just want the person to see, because I'm assuming that everyone with this onboarding channel would see this, or no?
Yeah, so everyone will be seeing this at the moment. Yeah.
To just make the user see it, is there a way to do that? No.
You mean only the specific user to see that?
Or would you be creating a private channel for the user only or something?
All right, so we have to do like that. So we can do that as well. So if we want to restrict on the information or the onboarding process only to the user, and it's quite simple. So what we have to do is, when the member is added, we can create a channel, and then we can post add the particular user to the only as a member to that channel in the flow itself, and then you can post the same thing.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
Welcome. So shall I move on?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so the next one, what I'd like to show here is, let's say now you are in the onboarding process, right? And let's say I added the app in here. Forgive me for that. So let's say we have an onboarding task. So yes, you can actually post the adaptive card in the chat itself directly. So to do that, so basically, if I go and do this, you see, so post the adaptive card to a Teams user and wait for response inside Teams channel. Okay. Yeah. So since we're running out of time, yeah. So you can see here that I have this is inside the Teams. So I have an app running on, and it says no welcome to your agent. So let's say we have an onboarding task, and like this. So did you configure desk phone? Yeah, mark as complete. Did I get the key card? Mark as complete. Did I get a complete compliance training? Get started. So it will basically redirect to your. You can work on that, like whatever your organization basically does. Okay. So yeah. So similarly, and then if you want to share more resources, I can just take it to on click on the resource or click on the video, whatever it is, based on your company. And if the user want to see what are the people under the team, so you can, there's a mirror. You can see what are the folks. So he works closely with so based on your Outlook, it just shows up here. And then if you want to see the company information, like you can just put the stuffs here, and you can extend this again. This is just a sample app that I downloaded from Power Apps community gallery. I didn't build this from the scratch, but you got the point, right? So what I'm trying to make here is we can create an app like this, and we can render it as part of the channel that we want to use. So if there's onboarding channel or general channel, whatever it is, and we can again automate the users. Give the users the potential or the place where they can do this themselves within the teams. All right. So how to build this? Let's not do this complex app, but to start with the simple app, I can just show you. So inside the Teams, you can see Power Apps. So if you are using it first time, you need to create an app. So when you create an app, it actually creates an environment behind the scene for that particular Teams. Since I already have an app, you can see, all the teams will be showing us a separate environment. So inside the environment, you will see all the stuff like a Canvas app, chatbot, whatever it is. So if you want to create a new app, basically you go and create an app. So when you create an app, it is going to ask you, what are the name and the data. So either you can consume the app from the data from Office or SharePoint, or you can build the app right away. The database itself here in the table. And then you can build the app out of that. Okay, you can. But I don't want the showing demo on how to build the Canvas app is totally out of the scope, and it will take a whole day to show that. So we're not going to do that. But you got the point, right? So you can just build any app here, and you can create a new table, or you can consume the data from any using any connectors as well. So from here, we can directly call from any data source, or we can call a Power Automate like this. And from this Power Automate, again, we can call a Graph API or using a custom connector or something like that. And we can bring the data and show it here. So this, this basically completes the whole cycle. So the user will have the smooth onboarding process, and the user will also have a self-help app that he can always go and bring it on. Okay. So that's how it works. So if I go and connect the data, you can see, it will ask me to get in one of the connectors like this from Outlook or SharePoint. So if I go and get it from the Office users, you can see that it builds their own data. Okay. And then if I want to create a new table, I can always go and create a new table, like the employee. I don't have any SharePoint data at the moment, but you can create a database. Apart from whatever database you have, you can also build in the database here, which will be maintained in this environment. So you'll see what is the limitation of the database as such. So as I said, we do not have time to do it from the scratch for this app, but I think I'll share the materials, links for that, so you can start with that one. And the next part for this is the bot. So yeah, we don't have anything employee, but yeah, if you add it, it will have gone data from the employee database. So let me go to the bot. Let's say now the third scenario is user is there and he wants some information and he is going to say hello. So hello Jyotin Kumar, I'm help desk. What help you need today? Let's say I need some help on payslip. So yeah, I want to get you want to download the payslips. You see, you can download payslip, whatever the information it shows, and you like to navigate to main option, or you can complete the whole conversation. Let's say I like to go and see more options. So then it say what are the things I need to know. Whether self-service. Let's say I go to self-service. So what can I help you with on ESS? Let's say I have incurrent bank details. So just show what are the information that is required. So if I say if you need further assistance, again the thing starts, and again I basically goes in cycle until unless what are information that I am asking for, it's captured. No. Yeah. Finally, I'm just closing the chat. Yeah, that's all, right? So this is just whatever I have is very simple chat content, but you can think about this, having this, you can put a training video here, or you can have a downloadable files, or you can redirect to the user, or you can send an email from here. Because the reason I started with my Power Automate is from the chat, but also you can call the Power Automate. So let's say you want to bring data from some other system, or from a SharePoint or some other third-party system, and show it here in the bot. You can do that as well. So you can call the Power Automate, and from the Power Automate, whether from the existing connectors, you can pick any of that and bring the data and show it there. Or if it's a third party and if you're writing your own custom connector, we'll write the connectors and we'll share it there again here. Okay, so I think you got the point, right? The whole 360 circle of engaging the user and making this process seamless and engaging the user further during his initial period of employment. So this is how you come up with the whole structure here. And then let me quickly show you how I did this to build this app. I don't have much time. Yeah. So if you see, I'll show you. Yeah.
There is one question: is this a PVA bot?
Yeah. So this is a PVA bot. I know why you had the question, because this question, because this is, I'm showing you in the Teams. This is a new announcement that Microsoft has made called Project Ogdale. So where you can build your own apps and the structure from the Microsoft Teams itself. So yeah, let me quickly complete this and come back to the questions at the end, September. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So let me quickly go and edit the. I will show you what I have now. Then again, after this, if you go and see the links that I'm sharing you, you'll definitely be able to start the bot and use the Graph API and Adaptive API from both the workshops, and you can build the whole onboarding or any other application for that matter to your organization. Okay, so first thing to create a bot, the moment you create a bot, you will be the bot framework will show you a couple of show you default topics, and the topics are actually the area that you segregate your user questions and context, so that you can segregate multiple topics and you can call topics from each other. Okay, so these are system topics, and many topics comes out of the box itself. So for example, this greeting is a system topic. I didn't create it from the scratch. That's why when I say hi, this topic basically starts. So to do the topic, there are two things. First is the trigger phase. So this phase will actually trigger the particular topic. So similarly, each topic can have multiple phases, and since it is an AI, the trigger phase don't need to exactly match what we are typing, user is typing. User can type anything, but the AI will do that sentiment analysis, behind the screen test analytics, and find whichever the suitable topic, and it will call the right topic. And inside the topic, once you enter the triggering phase, the next thing is the authoring canvas, where you will actually draw the whole flow. Okay, what to do next, what to do next, something like that. So if you see this one, I say hi. This is I'm testing a bot here. So when you're building, you can test the bot here, and then you can publish it to the teams. You see all this thing executed and say what I can help you with today. So I'll say ESS. So now, if I go and choose employee service, you'll see this will change to another topic. So, oh, I didn't enable this one. If you enable this one, then it will go to the, it will show you where it is going actually, where it is navigating the whole chatbot. You see, it's now going to the next topic, and it is fetching the data from that topic. Now see, this is another topic, and in this topic I have all the structure. So you can see I've achieved this. My bot has navigated this route based on the question, and it's here right now. So based on this, again, yes or no, this will come here to the yes, and it will start over because I'm starting it again. Okay. So I quickly show you what I have done, how I build it. So as I said earlier, the first thing that you start with is the trigger. So this is the main chat, my content that I have put here. So you can see trigger phase is ESS, employee self-service, assistance, need help, whatever you type, or you say I need help, I want assistance, whatever the content is, it will fetch the, it will do the text analysis, and it will find the matching topics, and it will go here directly and hit the particular topic. So what you do in the topic is, as a bot developer, you basically add, keep adding kind of flow chart. So you can see I added a question. So how you add a new question, you can just click here and you can say ask a question, and in the ask a question you just say name of the question, and then you will put what is the question you want to ask, whether you want a multiple choice question. So what I have used is a multiple choice question, but you can ask use a string or age, boolean, city, color, like that. So it also smart enough to find the right type. So what do I mean by find the right type? So if I go and let's say I've asked at an age, right? So then I'll add a condition, okay, just for a namesake. I can rename this variable also here. So let's say where age is greater than or equal to, let's say greater than 18. Then you come here. Oh, sorry. Oops. I don't know why I'm not able to get this right here. Never mind. So let's say I'll do this other way, less than 18, just leave it here, and the condition is coming here. So what happens is if I go and start it again, so I say Jesus. What is gonna, okay, I haven't saved this word. So you need to save each and every time you add the stuff to this one, modify it, you have to save it. And after all the testing, you basically publish the team. Okay, I'll show that also quickly. So it's saved now. Let me reset the whole bot conversation. And I'll say, so actually you can test any topic from the test area. Okay, it doesn't need to be exactly this one. If I say hi, it will go to the greeting topic and start the content there. You see next is age. So I'm asking question, let's say I use 20. You see, I didn't use the number 20. I used the word 20, but still system is smart enough to go to the figure out the value, and it goes here. If I put 18 or less than that, it will not go there. It will stop here, and I can extend whatever the content I want to show. But maybe here I can just show a message, you know. No, it's funny, but yeah. So you can save this. But you've got the content, right? So what I'm trying to say here is when you go and add stuffs here, so when you ask a question, there are more pre-built types like this, and system is smart enough to, if you use age, it will detect the number or string, and similarly city, color, whatever, based on that it will detect the right thing, even for date and time. Okay, and you can also have custom stuffs like this. You can add your own, let's say, employee or process or document, something like that, and you can build your stuff here, and you can add it to the query. Okay, so once everything is done, once you test and done, finally what you do is you go and publish this to your teams. That's the last step once you build the bot. So basically publish to the bot, publish this. And then share the bot to show up here in the teams. Okay, it's already added to the team. If it's not, it will have a button saying add to the team. Once you do that, you will see the bot here. It's simple as that. Okay. So with that, the chatbot is done. So finally, about the custom connectors. So if you are, since you know from the last session, you've seen how to build that use the graphic API and all those things, right? So what you can do here is, so once let's say you have the API, let's say you have the already Postman collection with your Swagger file or anything like that. So you can do create custom connectors here in the Power Automate. So either you can create it from the scratch, or you can use any of the either you can use a directly as your service, or you can import from a Postman collection, something like that, or you can import an open API file as well. So if I want to create it from the scratch, you basically go here and you'll choose the icon and you'll give the host and then URL and then security. You can choose basic authentication or OAuth 2.0, something like that. API key, then you get the key that you registered in the app registration, and then you put it here, and then finally the definition will be the action, what you want to be a trigger. So if you put this like as such, you can again request this from the sample, and here it will be get or post. So whatever you have done, whatever your API will do, you can put it here and use the URL of that API, and automatically system will generate the trigger sample action and then trigger. And you can also add policies, like any organization policy that you are defining, you can put it. Finally, you will test it and publish it. Okay. So I do not have any custom connectors at this instance at the moment. But yeah, the point is, once you create the custom connectors, you can again come back. You can always go back to your flow, and then if you search the custom connector here in the customs, you will have the custom connector what you created, and you can just get the data. Okay. Last piece. So I'm going to take 2 or 3 more minutes. I'm sorry about that. So in the bot, right? So let's say you have a flow where you have you started with this, and then you had a custom connector. You got the data from your own system, your own application, and you pulled it there, and you're passing it to Teams. And then let's say to trigger that, you can again do it from the bot. So that's what I missed to show you. So let me quickly do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show that where you can do it now. So I'm going to go back to the authoring topics. I know it's too much content, but we'll put things in the chat. You check it out later. You can also reach me out at any point of time after the session. So let's say I wanted to download the payslip, right? Instead of this, I can go and pull it from some other data. So to do that, what I can do is add a thing, and there is something called call an action. So here, basically, system will display all your Power Automate the flow that you have created. So this is the starting point, okay? So then with this, you build the flow and then call the flow from here, and then the flow return the data, the basically whatever it is, then you show it to the user. So basically users can get everything from the bot itself at that point of time, okay? Yeah, so this is the whole thing about the demo. So I'm just quickly going to show, share my presentation again and show the restrictions on this one. So this, whatever I show you is called Project Ogdale, because right now the whole Power Platform, the suite is coming with part of the Teams itself. So you can see how we embed the Teams into the Power Apps Studio into the Teams, and then you can have Power Automate in the Teams, even Power BI in the Teams, where you can do the analytics and reports. It will be too much if I show that as well now. So yeah, so it's you can see, it included no cost for Microsoft 365 and Teams license. This is a key thing, you can note it down here. So there is no additional cost to use the whole stuff whatever I showed now. And with that Project Ogdale environment, per team you will get 2 GB storage or 1 million rows max. Okay. So when I say environment, for each team will be created, environment will be created for each team behind the screen. So when you delete the environment, the data is gone again, by the way. So you can see up to 500 teams this can be supported. And then the security architecture is based on the typical Teams security architecture, whether owner, member, or the guest with that. Okay. And finally, so can you use Project Ogdale outside of Teams? No. Project Ogdale, so whatever I showed now, it's within the Teams because it comes part of the M365 license. Okay. So can you use custom connectors? No, at the moment, but you can use it via API management. That is another way to do that. Okay. And then what happens when tenant or capacity limits reached? So the new thing will not be created, but existing will be working with some issues there. So can additional capacity purchased at the moment? No, at the moment no, but it's a very recent announcement. Microsoft will be doing it, releasing it in the future. And what happens when the environment of the team deleted? So everything is deleted as well. So with that, this is what the recap. So we saw what is Power Automate. We saw how to add actions. We saw how to use the adaptive card into the Power Automate. We also saw how to start the quick intro on what is adaptive card and how to start with the adaptive card designer, and then Power Virtual Agent. And in fact, we also saw Power Apps as well. And then finally, tying up all this content and creating a smooth onboarding application with your existing skills. Yes, so with that, I will say thank you, big thanks again to all of you for attendees, organizers, Microsoft, for putting lots of efforts behind the thing. And this is the same, yeah?
There are a few questions on the chat window. Probably you can address that now.
Sure. I can do that, yeah. Okay, so, oh, there are lots of questions. Okay, which is still in preview.
When you
so when you say it's, sorry. So when you say it's preview, it can be used, but it's not recommended to use in production actually, because the preview feature is something Microsoft is experimental feature. So it's not recommended to use in production. But eventually next release, I think in October, next release, I think it's Jan. So the next release, you will be expecting these things might be pushed to production. I mean, not in preview anymore, it's public available. And don't use it for prod better. Yeah, oh, that's already sentiment answer, I'm sorry. If everyone is in channel, see the article, okay, that's already answered. Post article flow, okay, is a PVA bot? Yes. Is there an option to direct the user from the bot to another user? Yeah. So when in the bot, you can either send an email, or when you say redirect to user, you mean redirect to the personal user chat, Andrew?
Yeah, I think he mentioned directly as a chat to the person rather than private chat.
I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I haven't tried that. I should see whether I can do that from the Power Automate. If I can do that, then I can call an action from the chatbot to linking the Power Automate. Then I can do that. But I need to check, to be honest. I can check and come back to you on that one. I haven't tried that, to be honest. So does it support other language more than English? It supports multiple languages than English. Yes. So can you use adaptive card there? Adaptive card where? In Power Virtual Agent? Adaptive card in Power Virtual, I don't, what, I think so, because it just the URL you can use with HTML, you can embed it. But I personally haven't tried this one as well. Yeah, I think he's asking about adaptive card to chatbot, if I'm not wrong. I will check on that. That's a good question.
In the PVA, yeah. So can you use that in the? So it appears that there might be some. It might not be possible now, but it looks like it's something that they're looking at releasing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the documentation. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. That's a nice question again. Both of this, redirecting to the user and using it in PVA. Yeah. Let me work on that. Yeah, I think you're done. Okay. We had a user get flow in with gateway when changed password, it stopped working. Regular user. Yeah. So I think when the gateway settings, there should be something to fetch it from your on-premise. I mean your organization, the Active Directory. We need to work on. We need to check on that what exactly is the issue, and we need to fix that one, Thomas. We need to take a. It's very high level question, so we need to take a look at it. What is happening? Why it's failing? Yeah.
Thomas, the gateway meaning that is this a kind of setting you enable to synchronize the users, or how is it?
It's talking about on-premise gateway installed in this server.
It stopped working when you change the password. Basically, there is a two-way sync and one-way sync. I don't know how it is set up, so probably you need to check out how the user synchronization is set up.
Okay, then yeah, with that, I hope the session was helpful and you were able to, I mean, you would have got some idea to start with this features that Microsoft is providing part of your license. And yeah, with that, I will end up my session. And thanks again, everyone. I will share all those resources link in the chat right away. Thank you, Sentamil, Rene, Reboot, Satish, and everyone. And, yeah.
Thank you, Jiva. And guys, please fill in the survey. There are two surveys, global survey as well as the SG survey. Please fill in both the survey. SG survey is for the SWAC. We are not restricting it to only the HOL people, but just the Singapore attendees only. Sorry for the other international people because of the logistics, but we are trying to do the SWACs for all the people who are attending. So please fill in the SG survey as well as the global survey. Thank you so much. And we will be back in after another hour break for a lunch because sometime people wants to take some break. We'll be back in 1 hour time, 1:30, and we'll start with another hands-on lab from Reboot on the adaptive card for Teams. Okay, stay tuned. Thank you so much.